Hello everyone, it's Rasen, and I'm here today staring at you from this webcam because, at least from my perspective, tomorrow, February 21st, 2023, marks the 10-year anniversary of me making YouTube videos for all of you to enjoy. It's been a wild ride, and I thought that this was a cause for, some celebration and a trip down memory lane. And honestly, even sitting down to record this, I was thinking so many things have happened over the last 10 years, and people have found me through so many varying avenues. Every time I talk to someone who watches my stuff, I'm kind of curious how they found me, and the answers are always so different. I thought it would be fun to kind of give, one, for me to have like a trip down memory lane and just talk about, how this all came to be and why I decided to do it. And just going through all of the big major projects I've done along the way. And just talk a little bit about what all of that was like, or provide interesting commentary where I can about the experience looking back on it with all this, all of these years of perspective that I've had since then. But also, too, just I thought it'd be fun to provide a retrospective for people that found me through like random crap a couple years back, or maybe you just found me last year or something through something. And I thought it'd be cool just to provide people who are newer to my stuff just a history of why the fuck I'm here and how this all came to be. So you might be wondering, okay, so you say it's the 10-year anniversary, but like if you go to my channel page, it says that my channel was created way back then and stuff like that. So this channel has existed for a number of years, and for a while it was just a place for me to house random gameplay, like replays and uploads and stuff. Like there's a bunch of random like online Third Strike matches I recorded with my friends back when the online edition on PS3 was up. And I think it had like a direct, like prior to like PlayStation 4 and, Xbox One and all that stuff having like the direct share feature, you could just upload your replay clips straight to YouTube, if I recall. It was either that or like you could like export it to the PS3 hard drive and you could use like a USB stick and upload. They had some sort of like replay thing. So it was a bunch of that. It was a bunch of random like stuff just I recorded on emulators. Like I think the very first video on this channel technically is footage of me going through the entirety of the first level in Perfect Dark on the hardest difficulty without firing a single bullet. Like I just did like the pistol whip or something. Just a bunch of random stuff like that. A few random jokey videos I recorded with some like friends and stuff like that. Just us out and about dicking around and being stupid. But the very first video that I consider the start of the Rasen Bran experience, as we would call it today, is here. Let me switch. Okay. Oh God, I don't want to watch this. Is the Shin Megami Tensei 2 Devil Survivor, or sorry, Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor 2 review, which, as you can see, was uploaded February 21st, 2013. I thought that it would be fun to go back through and listen to my first video. I haven't done this in years. I don't know what exactly this is going to entail. All I know is that I was young, pretty naive, kind of dumb. Granted, I think that the version of me that existed 2 years prior to how I exist now in the present, I always view that past version of me as kind of stupid. Bad habit of mine. I need to get over that. But, all I can say is I had a Turtle Beach P11 headset and a dream. I think it was a Turtle Beach P11. Whatever it was like the PlayStation 3 branded Turtle Beach, like, gamer headset. And they sucked. They were like $60. I went through like 3 of them. I never wanted to pay for like a better quality headset. They would just fall apart on you so easy. For I guess looking back on it, I didn't really have much of a social media presence at the time when I went back through and made this video, and I think that's part of the reason early on in my YouTube journey why I decided to make stuff is I just wanted to have an outlet where I could talk about shit I enjoyed that maybe on the random forums that I was I was a regular on quite a few random fandom dedicated forums and places like that and message boards back in the day. And I wanted to talk about things that maybe necessarily not everyone there had interest in. And also, too, one of the big motivating creative energies in my life, and this is still true to this day, like a decade later, is spite. I find that not a lot of people on YouTube make the type of stuff that I tend to want to watch. I tend to make the types of videos and the type of podcasts and that sort of thing that I'm personally interested in. And part of the reason I wanted to make videos all the way back then, I remember, is I was just like mad because there weren't a lot of people talking about the things I wanted to talk about, or at least if there were, they weren't covering it from the type of perspective that I wanted to, see talked about online. And that's been kind of a prevailing through line through my entire body of work, I find, is I really want to be that guy that's making something that I wish I would be able to find otherwise on the internet. And it's like, well, if someone else hasn't made it, I'll make it myself. Yeah, I'm just delaying at this point because I don't want to watch this fucking thing. So we're gonna click play. I'm just gonna say whatever this fucking idiot says. I'm not responsible for 10 years later. I'm sorry. Let's okay. Well, for some reason we're 3 seconds in. Let's
Guys, it's Rasen. I'm here.
Jesus Christ. Okay, let's.
Hey guys, it's Rasen. I'm here today to
the
talk to you
audio
about Devil
quality's
Survivor
so
2
bad.
for Nintendo DS. First, let me tell you a little bit about my experience with Devil Survivor 1. Because I was a Shin Megami Tensei fan when that game came out.
Oh, this is so cringe.
I saw it in Nintendo Power, and I saw, people were getting really hyped over this. I'm like, well, I'm not sure if I want to buy it, but I'll check it out on an emulator.
So bad.
So I downloaded it, played until about the beginning of the third day, if I recall. And I
need to turn
it
this
was
down.
Okay. I mean,
it's too
I didn't
loud.
Go out and buy it. It didn't really hold my interest, but I didn't really have bad thoughts about it or anything either. So between that time and the time I bought,
I was really rambly in my early days.
Fan,
like I just could not. I mean, I still tend to ramble. Honestly, every now and again I feel like I get comments saying that, but
look back and.
I could not piece together my thoughts. I just fucking clicked record with no structure, and I just went. I tend to.
Devil Survivor 2 was a lot better than 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause. Like these days, I tend to go into things that I'm recording, and I have like a list of mental bullet points, kind of what I want to hit on. Which I mean, I did that for this video even, that you're watching right now. But yeah, back then it was just fucking click play or click record on Audacity and just go to town. And it like this video probably did not need to be almost 18 minutes of me talking about whatever the fuck. Oh god. Okay, do I want to keep going? I think I do.
So I became kind of interested at that point. And one day at GameStop,
I sounded so nervous. I was nervous, honestly. I was an emotional wreck at this point in my life.
But I just decided to pick it up, impulse buy.
Nobody cares. Just talk about the game. Nobody cares about you going to the store and buying what. Oh my god.
Plot is you're a group of high school students and demons attack. Just average SMT stuff.
I'm so uncomfortable. I just did not. I did not have the strength talking into a mic that I do now.
The battle system is like a strategy RPG, so
like I sound like I'm being held at gunpoint. It's bad.
When you activate battle, instead of just like, oh, your character doesn't move, enemy doesn't move, you go into an RPG like battle sequence, and you have up to 2 turns to attack. Basically, if you exploit,
I'm gonna skip ahead. I don't care about me talking about the gameplay.
In Devil Survivor 2, there's not as much of a focus on the apocalyptic stuff. Like in Devil Survivor 1, I could see like, okay, this game is gonna focus on the fall of society and all that. In Devil Survivor 2, like shit hits the fan right away. There's none of like the society is slowly falling, people are starting to go insane type of stuff. Like it's just like
I sound like I'm going on a walk. Like, do you hear that huffing? Like I don't know what the fuck's going on there, but I sound like I'm out for a jog and I need to catch my breath. Oh my god. I'm gonna skip ahead. I can't watch this whole thing. I'm gonna die of cringe.
Better than other endings. But usually it leaves it open to this ending could completely suck if you change around a few things or if you think about the future a little bit or you put into effect that this could be undone and all that other stuff. In Devil Survivor 2, there is one ending where if you know about it, there is no reason not to go for that ending. Like it's
I stand by that.
Your ending.
You spitting facts.
Happy. And I didn't like that.
A lot of modern Atlas games have this problem. There's just one fucking really good ending, and it's like, why the fuck get the rest?
And games and whatnot, but they're still there for the new game plus value and all that good stuff.
Okay, let's just skip to the end.
So,
oh my god, it's so embarrassing.
If you really big fan of strategy RPGs, play this. If you like Shin Megami Tensei, definitely play this. I mean, if you're a fan of RPG games in general, but you don't like strategy RPGs, I mean, I'm not the biggest strategy RPG guy myself. I'd still try this out.
That's still I'm very picky with strategy RPGs to this day.
I have to say. Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, that was the first video that got me started on this life-altering journey. Oh my god, that's so embarrassing. But, you know, we all have to start somewhere. And I remember, you know, again, there weren't a lot of Shin Megami Tensei videos back then, and I remember that video doing better than I thought it ever would. You know, people found it. And I was just like, oh, you know, people care about what I have to say about random stuff. You know, maybe there is something here. It was kind of, I remember doing that as kind of just a one-off thing to play around with, maybe doing YouTube stuff. And I was like, you know, I'll do a few things. And I'm impressed with how well this video still, like, it has like 8,000, a little over 8,000 views, 114 likes and 8 dislikes. That ratio is way out of whack. I'm surprised that there are not more dislikes, because that video is fucking terrible. But, you know, sometimes people are kinder to you than you'd expect. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I remember the rest of that year, I was making random videos and random reviews for things, just kind of in that same style, where I would pop up like an image and I just record on Audacity like a review for, you know, stuff like Devil Survivor Overclocked was when I did a few months later, or Stephen King's The Stand, which I had finally read. Random movies like Dark City. A lot of these are unlisted now, and, you know, for various reasons or whatever. Just a random stuff that I had been going through, and, you know, I was like, oh, you know, it'd be fun to record my opinion on a bunch of this stuff. And you know, I went through and would just every few weeks I would upload like a new review where I just chatted about something for like 10 to 20 minutes or whatever. Or I would react to random episode. Like I have a video here, Devil Survivor 2 the Animation Episode 8 reaction, which I don't even fucking, that anime was terrible. I don't know why I reacted to Episode 8 or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of what the early days were like. It was just me giving random thoughts on stuff. I did a rummage sale PS2 game pickup in June of 2013. A few random Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 combo videos I made, like just me recording random combo routes and stuff I had found. I probably stole from people online, honestly. I was never that good at Marvel 3, even though that was the game that got me into fighting games. Thoughts and reactions on the E3 2013 showcases. Yeah, that's wild. And then we finally get to the summer of 2013, when I get the idea to make a Shin Megami Tensei beginner's guide, which I'm sure how a lot of you watching this found me. And these videos still, for some the algorithm loves these videos, which is tragic because they suck. I have a lot of random sentimentality to these, so I keep them around. I always struggle with this, where like there's a lot of old stuff I have on this channel that I just want to unlist or delete or whatever. But at the same time, I understand that it's probably for the best that I keep that stuff up, because I know that there's a lot of random creators and you know, younger people out there that want to make stuff online. And I think it is kind of important for people like me who, you know, are a little bit more established or have some experience with this sort of thing, to leave up our older works that may be a little embarrassing, just because I think it's good to show people like, hey, we all got to start somewhere. And you know, I have a lot of really fucking cringy videos in my back catalog, like this one. So let's go ahead and check out the Shin Megami Tensei Beginner's Guide Part 4, Continuity and Timeline, which technically got uploaded first because originally, I remember this. I completely forgot about this until just now. Like, I just unlocked a memory. I think that on the Megami Tensei subreddit, which I used to post on and didn't soon after because that subreddit fucking sucked. I haven't been on there in years. It probably still sucks. But I remember on that subreddit there was like some talk about how there wasn't like a really good resource for like explaining the SMT timeline, and like I was the type of nerd back then who fucking cared about that shit. And I was like, oh, I have a YouTube channel. I could record a video talking about how all the Shin Megami Tensei games connect together. And then that kind of snowballed into this idea of like, oh, what if I create like a 5-part beginner's guide where I talk about how to get into Shin Megami Tensei, and then part 4 is going to be the one where I talk about all the timeline stuff. But because I had already gotten started on it, I decided to upload part 4 first, which confused everyone, and I don't blame them. I remember back in the day joking that I did it because it was like Star Wars, you start with part 4 or whatever. But that was just a joke. And Jesus, yeah, to this day, these videos remain some of my most popular, and that's a fucking tragedy because they suck. So let's go ahead and watch these. For context, a few years back, one of my friends started streaming one of these on Discord, and I cringed so hard that I started to yell at him to please stop. I did not react well, so let's see how I feel now. Oh god. Alright, yeah, this is the Photoshop doodles. It's all coming back to me.
So you've entered the Shin Megami Tensei.
Oh, it's so quiet.
Maybe you've played a game or two, or maybe you're still trying to find that perfect gateway game to the series.
Oh, I'm such a mumbler. Oh my god.
Continuity and timelines.
Again, I didn't know how to talk into a microphone.
Does not spoon feed you the Shin Megami Tensei timeline during the course of the games. However, there is one there. In fact, only the most hardcore fans with very keen eyes are going to be able to figure out how exactly the game.
I sound like such a Redditor. Fuck me.
Online research. Now, this is something that really bothers people that are new to the series. I mean, doesn't it kind of seem strange jumping straight into Shin Megami Tensei 4, Persona 4?
I love that there is a...
I'm here to tell you that most Shin Megami Tensei games...
I love that there is a past version of me that listened to this and was like... So,
do they all...
Yeah, that's a good take. Let's go with that one,
It's kind of hard to figure out, though. In fact, the Shin Megami Tensei universe involves crazy ideas in their timeline, including, but not limited to, multiple universes, split timelines, time travel, and good old reincarnation. Yeah, move over, Zelda. Your timeline ain't shit.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I can't do this. I'm done.
Atlus has never confirmed an official timeline. They have said some games are sequels to other games, such as SMT2, SMT1, or Digital Devil Saga 2-1. But aside from that, they kind of left us in the dark. Rule number 2.
I have to embrace the cringe. This is bad.
Atlus is a video game company, and having these cameos are going to make you want to look into their other games, maybe to purchase them. It's a very efficient market.
This is interesting, because actually... Ironically, all these years later, I actually feel like the way that Atlus handles its back catalog, or more specifically references to its back catalog, is maybe not like a major reason, but I feel like it's emblematic of the reason I don't really like Atlus anymore. Like I think about how the Demi-Fiend reminds me of like tap out shirts now. Like the Demi-Fiend is a brand in a way that it wasn't when I feel like I was into this shit. Every fucking game they come out with now, there's just like heaps of DLC for all of their old shit, and it's like, oh, thanks for reminding me of when you made good video games that like actually had creative vision and like I could care about. Fuck it, yeah, just make all this DLC with references and costumes and bonus boss fights to your old games. Just keep shoehorning it in. It was kind of a fun thing when like the Demi-Fiend was in Digital Devil Saga 2 on New Game Plus in like a side room. And then in Shin Megami Tensei 5, he's like he gets like a WWE like entrance. And it's the most overblown, overproduced shit. And the SMT became like a lifestyle brand to like appeal to niche try-hard nerds in a way that I feel like is just really... It's just like they marketed the shit out of it and just lost any sort of actual storytelling vision, I feel. And I feel like the seeds were kind of here already when I was, way too deep into the shit. But back then, it felt like a fun way to, hint at the fact, like, oh, hey, all of these games exist in, like, a broader context and kind of play off of one another. And nowadays it just feels like the most, like, corporate, like, shared universe MCU type bullshit, and I kind of, I don't know. I could, if I spend this whole video talking about how I think Atlas kind of sucks now, we'll be here forever. So, again, I need to stop delaying and let's just play the video.
Tactic. However, for the sake of this video, I'm going to say that if a character makes a direct appearance in another game, there has to be some.
This video is so quiet, dude. I honestly think one of my weaknesses as a video creator has always been audio levels. I'm not very good with audio. I just don't have a good ear for it. I've tried to learn, and it's just it's always been a bad spot for me. I feel like I can never. I feel like I'm not good at mixing audio well for Let's Plays, podcasts, any of that stuff. I think that's always been a weak spot for me, for sure.
Everything fits together within the SMT timeline. And I mean, let's be serious here. I think making a plot accessible and easy to understand is a lot better than just making references left and right to all these other obscure games in this
is so boring.
Rule number 5, and probably the most important rule of them all: don't take it too seriously. Every Shin Megami Tensei game is.
Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! That is exactly what I'm doing. I made a 14-minute video talking about the timeline of Shin Megami Tensei. Oh my god! Oh my god! But I do agree with the heart of this, though. I do think that SMT nerds take a lot of this shit way too seriously, and it's like, at some point, you just need to take all of the games on an individual basis and look at them as individual pieces of art, and not worry about how all of them, like, tie into each other. So, timeline stuff is, like, stupid bullshit. This is the most replayed part of the video for some reason, so let's...
Law and Chaos endings.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, also too, I used Comic Sans. And if I recall, that was actually, like, that wasn't just me choosing to use Comic Sans unironically. If I recall, that was, like, supposed to be a joke. But I never, like, explained that, or, like, because I distinctly remember I was making this video. I was making this video, and, like, I was talking to a friend over Skype. Remember when we used Skype? Jesus Christ. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna use Comic Sans or whatever, and like, people find it funny. And then I made this fucking video, and a bunch of people on, like, Reddit and YouTube were like, why the fuck did you use Comic Sans? And I was like, it's a joke. And oh my god, we all have our embarrassing, dumb, youthful ideas of humor. God knows I did back in these early days. Holy shit. Let's see if I say anything cancelable in any of these. Actually, I know I do. In one of these videos, I make a, like, kind of gender essentialist joke involving, like, the Persona 3 protagonist and, like, P3P, because, like, you can play as a girl or whatever. And I think, like, I make a really cringe joke about, like, oh, if you don't have a penis, you'll like this, or some fucking, I don't know, I was young and stupid. And times have certainly changed since then, so...
And name. However, Persona 1 reveals that the main character from If, who directly references the events of Shin Megami Tensei...
See, the problem with reacting to these videos, I actually just think that, beyond the cringe, they're just kind of boring.
The Persona 4 director confirmed in an interview...
Also, why is this in 4x3?
...in the same universe.
Hold on.
This is our timeline thus far.
What's the quality on this?
Neutral ending leads into Shin Megami Tensei 2.
This is a 480p video. What was I doing?
Universe where Shin Megami Tensei 1's nuclear apocalypse never happened.
My guy, it's 2013.
Spins off from that. Easy so far, right?
What was I doing?
Now, let's move on to
this is ridiculous.
Devil Summoner sub-series. In Devil Summoner 1, 2 characters from Shin Megami Tensei 1, Thor and Goto, who were responsible for unfortunate events in SMT1 are referenced.
Goto!
Both characters are
that's
in this canon.
Historically, I've been terrible at pronouncing things in my life, so I shouldn't be too surprised, but God.
Takes place directly after Devil Summoner 1. It even has some of the same characters, and they even reference the events of the
If I recall,
one of the characters from the original.
If I recall, Soul Hackers came out around the time that I started making YouTube. In fact, I know it is because I think I recorded a first impressions video of Soul Hackers, and if I recall, that was around the time that I feel like I started to see my name show up in the Megami Tensei side of the internet. Is like, oh yeah, there's that Rasen Bran guy, he makes videos. Like, I kind of became, back then, and keep in mind, Mega 10 stuff was way smaller back in, like, 2013 than it is now. But I definitely remember, like, that was around the time where I first started to see, like, in comments, you know, and like threads and stuff that I wasn't even involved in, people like bring up my name and are like, oh, well, Rasen said this. And that was like, you know, I'm not gonna lie, as a young person who, like, you know, kind of anxiously put my thoughts and opinions out there, that did mean a lot to me back then. And unfortunately, you know, I do think that probably did some ego boosty type shit that, like, looking back on is, you know, corny. But, you know, I was a young insecure dude. And I think that that's the sort of thing that tends to happen with a lot of people when they first start to get attention they're not expecting for their creative output, you know, even beyond YouTube. And I think it took a few years of me just realizing, like, hey, I'm out here making my own stuff and people are going to have opinions on it or reference it, and, like, you know, it's cool, it's whatever. But I definitely think there was, like, a small period there where I was like, oh, people are talking about me, which, you know, again, not too proud of, but hey, I think that's also just part of growing up, you know. I was, like, young and, like, I was 19 making these. I was a kid. I was stupid. Here, let's just scroll through.
Victor, who fuses demons for you in every game. Now, I know an important note. Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne explains that also in the remake of Shin Megami Tensei 1, the SM Nocturne is a left from Shin Megami, the entire Shin Megami Tensei series.
I think people, I haven't been keeping up with Shin Megami Tensei stuff as much, but I think in recent years there's been some massive pushback on this point in particular. I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of at a point where I don't care about this stuff anymore. But, like, I do feel a little bit bad because I probably contributed to spreading, like, half-baked information and shit, and, like, you know, I don't really care about nerd trivia shit in this way like I used to, but, like, I'm sure that there are people who care, and, like, hey, I'm sorry if I was responsible for some of this back in the day, right? Whatever. Here, let's just keep scrolling through.
Comic relief character, and it would not be out of the question for it.
Oh my god, who cares?
That they come from.
Oh, I did the 3. Look at that shit. Oh my god.
So just because these characters, maybe a few, however, words, which also.
Oh, I remember making these. Yeah. Oh god.
Basically, it's the belief that
oh goodness, what a blast from the past.
Then 2 happened.
I forgot that I like couched these terms like the split timeline and reset theories. Oh, I thought I was such a little fucking genius, I bet.
Angels
oh
and
my
the
god.
Believer. I'm not even...
What the fuck is the context for this?
Possibly being a left in Nocturne. So, was that a little too much to handle? Yeah, it's confusing, but hey.
It's a callback because I had Link in the earlier part of the video. Oh my
these
god.
2 timelines are what you should believe, or I'm not even saying they're right. Just from heavy research on the internet, these are the 2 timelines that seem to be generally accepted. To be honest, no one really knows, and hell, at this point, I'm not even sure that Atlas knows. Please keep in mind this video is
oh my god, that's right. This was before
the release of Shin Megami.
This was before SMT4 came out.
It's been out in Japan for a little while now, but plot details are still kind of vague. So we're not.
Yeah, you know, I think we'll call it there. But god, yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about this. One thing is that I distinctly remember it being like 4 or 5 a.m. on like a Friday, or no, it was I had spent all Friday night working on this and was pulling like almost an all-nighter, and it was like 4 or 5 a.m. on a Saturday. And I think my girlfriend had to wake up, or my ex-girlfriend had to wake up early at the time and messaged me on Skype like, are you online? And I was like, yeah, I'm working on a video. And she was like, go to bed. What are you doing? And I remember telling her, no, you don't get it. Like, I think this is gonna be something special. And like, I can feel, and you know, looking back now, I know this feeling well. It's just that feeling of like creative expression. Like you get this little, I'm sure a lot of you that are creative and, you know, make things on the internet can relate to this, but you get this like thing bottled up inside of you, and it's like, fuck, I just need to get this out of me. I need to express this onto the world and share my vision or whatever. But, I didn't really know what it was at the time, but I just remember thinking, like, I'm making this thing, I'm crafting this thing, I'm writing this thing, and I have this feeling that if I put it out into the world, people are going to latch onto it. And I just remember having this clarity of, like, I need to do this. And I was not taking care of myself doing that. I was staying up way too late. But I just remember her just being like, fucking go to bed. Like, whatever. And then later that week, I think, I finished it. And I put it out. And it blew the fuck up. Well, okay. It blew the fuck up for what I was used to. So probably a couple hundred views. But I remember coming home from, like... Actually, I don't even think... Hold on, let me look. Yeah, this was in the summer, so I think I was on my summer break from college or whatever. But I remember coming back... And I think I was unemployed at the time, too, actually, which was probably why I was staying up so late. But I remember, like, coming back from something or whatever and just going online and checking YouTube and being like, holy shit... and I remember that it had been posted to the subreddit. It had been posted on Tumblr, which, I've never used Tumblr, but I was just like, oh, like, people are finding this and think it's cool enough to share with other people. And it was really my first time that I had seen something I'd made get this degree of traction where, like, people were like, oh, hey, check out what this dude made. It's really cool or whatever. It wasn't, as you could clearly see. But, and I just remember being like, holy fuck, like... people liked the thing I made, and it meant a lot to me. It really did. And I remember I cranked out the parts 1 through 3 of this, and I think at some point I was like, oh, I'm gonna do a part 5 where, like, people can send me questions and I'm gonna answer them, and it'll be like a frequently asked questions. And I just never made it, which I guess was foreshadowing for a lot of the projects that I've canceled or just never gotten around to on this channel. Which we'll get into as we get more towards the modern stuff, but it's just funny thinking all the way back then, like, yeah, I was probably overpromising and saying I was gonna do shit and then just not thinking about the logistics or the reality of, will I have the energy or motivation to do this? Will I have the time in my life to do this with all my other commitments? I think that's been a consistent problem in my creative output, not just doing this, but, anything creative in my life. Honestly, even sometimes with, like, work stuff, I'm not the greatest with, like, time management or keeping on track of things like that. Obviously, I tend to be a little more on the ball with that. Like, I never handed anything late for, like, my work stuff, because, there's big boy contracts involved with me hitting deadlines, but I think time management is definitely one of my weaker aspects of me as a person making things or just doing stuff in life. I don't think I have a good handle on project management necessarily. And yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else I want to talk about with the beginner's guide. Honestly, to this day, these videos are still some of the best performing, like, in terms of recommendations, people watching them, me making money off of them. Like, this is a substantial amount of the money I've made on YouTube are from these 4 dog shit videos. Like, to this day, they still do really well for some fucking reason. And it's really funny, too, because these videos hammered home for me in the last few years more than anything else, that when people watch a YouTube video or YouTube recommends them a video, nobody looks at the fucking dates. The amount of people who will comment on these videos and be like, why the fuck didn't you talk about Persona 5? And it's like, it was because it was like 3 or 4 years before that came out, dipshit. Like, nobody checks the dates before they comment, which I've always thought was really funny. Yeah, this was also around the time, well, I guess I'll talk about Shin Megami Tensei 4 next. Because SMT4 marks a very interesting point in my life, I would say, that, like, the release of that game and the months leading, the months beyond that, really, really changed the direction of my life in a way I never could have expected, and I don't often talk about a lot. Every now and again, when, like, the game's anniversary comes up on Twitter, I'll be like, oh, this game means a lot to me for XYZ. But I don't really think I've talked about it here on YouTube, so I probably should. But yeah, I guess the one thing I want to say before we get to that and just closing off this early part of me making stuff on YouTube is I'm listening to all of this and I'm cringing and I'm kind of making fun of my past self, but goddamn, I want to give this kid a hug because he really needed one. I was not all right when I was making these videos. In fact, I would say that probably me focusing on making this stuff and as fast as I was making this stuff was probably in some way me trying to find a healthy way to deal with a lot of horrible things that were going on in my life, or me trying to distract myself from not having to think about or deal with that stuff. I think even to this day that's true when I go through hard times. I think YouTube can be both a way for me to healthily deal with things and emotions and traumas that can be a little much to handle at times. I also think that it's very easy for me to spend an entire day doing nothing but working on YouTube stuff if I really wanted to. And that can be dangerous because then, you get into the question where does something become a hobby versus where does something become a excuse to not deal with shit that you need to deal with in life. That's something I think I luckily was cognizant of pretty early on. And took, I took the time and the effort to make sure that YouTube never overtook things, responsibilities or things in my life that it shouldn't. And I'm very happy I did that. But, every now and again, I'll have a day where I'm working on stuff and I'm like, I feel like there are conversations in my life or things in my life I should be doing other than this that I'm just trying to, I'm spending the day doing something I shouldn't be doing every now and again. It's complicated. I'm sure that everyone who makes things or has a hobby that they're really passionate about, probably experiences the same thing. I'm sure this isn't unique to me by any means, but I think also too, I think some important context is I made that for, that Devil Survivor 2 video came out February of 2013. And that November preceding that was my third and final suicide attempt. And that was a very, very important night in my life, obviously, where I was like, I'm not doing this again. I'm going to make a commitment here to live. I kind of fucking hate the world. Honestly, all these years later, still kind of hate the world. I think that life can be very cruel and unfair to myself and a lot of the people I love. And I don't think that there's a lot of justice in the world. But I also don't think that that's a reason to give up. And I made a promise to myself that from that point on, I was going to treat every single day of my life like an extra day that I gave to myself to make the world a little bit of a nicer place for me and the people I love, and to maybe change things if I have the power to. Maybe in little ways, maybe in big ways, kind of depends on the situations I find myself in. But all these years later, and through the entirety of me doing YouTube, I've woken up. I think about this almost every morning. Each new day, whether it's good or bad, is something that I gave myself as a gift. That if I was in a worse headspace that night, I would have lost all those days. And I think that a lot of that stuff was really fresh in my mind when I was making these early videos. I was a wreck. There was a lot of horrible trauma in my life, and even I know that psychologically this is kind of a bullshit thing that doesn't technically exist, but for lack of a better term, and because I know most of you will probably understand this, I definitely had some sort of like repressed memories from my childhood that were impacting me in ways that I did not fully understand at this period in my life. And a lot of childhood trauma from a not so great upbringing that I just did not have the emotional capacity to really understand how fucked up I was at this point in my life. And you know, I'm kind of glad looking back, as cringy as these are. I gotta give the credit to the kid. He cranked these out. You know, he gave himself something to focus on. It's really weird talking about my past self in the third person, but you know, I don't know. Maybe that's a coping mechanism, but it helps. But I gave myself something to focus on. You know, I tried to deal with things as healthy as I could have. And I think that meant finding a creative passion that I could really give my all to. Yeah, let's go on to SMT4 then. I don't know if there's any good... there's a Man of Steel review I did with a few people that I'm sure I'm not friends with anymore. Jesus Christ. More beginner's guide stuff. Oh, God. Unfound Door. Yeah, I used to have this vlog series on my channel that was like me, honestly, kind of like some stuff that I've done nowadays, where I would just put up random like gameplay footage and then vlog or like talk about my life or whatever. And I probably I deleted, well, I privated these. Probably because, looking back, I probably overshared a little bit too much. Something with YouTube that is hard to explain to people, or I guess not hard to explain, but something that I've had to constantly relitigate through my years here, is the fact that, you know, I constantly feel like a shift in my comfort level regarding my boundaries and how much of myself that I'm genuinely comfortable sharing with all of you, which can be complicated because there are times where I've said things and kind of became vulnerable that I feel like maybe I'd kind of regret now, or maybe not want to share with people necessarily. But at the same time, if I'm making things and I have this platform where I can reach people, I want to be myself and I want to share my lived experience and you know, maybe provide someone with an example or a story or something that can help them work through their own stuff. You know, we all have our own paths in life, and they're all different and complicated for their own reasons, and we all have our own individual struggles. But, you know, if me sharing some of my more private and personal struggles can help someone else out there deal with their own bullshit, that makes me happy. You know, I get a lot of fulfillment out of helping people. Honestly, you know, when I was growing up, and I feel like this sort of side of me actually came in a lot of handy when I decided to do YouTube. But growing up, there was part of me that was kind of like, maybe I could be a teacher, because I just always get the satisfaction from helping people, and I think that kind of was a big motivating factor in my early years making this stuff. Is, you know, I wanted to not only share my opinions and like criticism, if you could call it that, because it was as fucking shallow as a, you know, kiddie pool, but you know, aside from sharing my opinions on media and shit, and talking about, you know, or making videos that I felt like were kind of underrepresented on the platform, I think there was part of me that also wanted to like help people or feel like I was helping people, or by sharing my experience with things, I could connect with people in some way. And I don't really know if that's necessarily, actually, you know what? I would say that's still probably a good, I think part of the heart and soul in this channel probably is that, considering how many times I have dedicated way too much of my life to playing dumb bullshit games that are kind of interesting and recording it so that people don't have to go through the work of like playing through stuff themselves. I think that soul kind of lives on in the channel, maybe more than I've thought about. This is the fun part about going through all of my old stuff, is I can think about these years and this period of time that I haven't thought about in so long, and really think back on why I did all this stuff, right? Oh God, yeah. So I don't have too much here on SMT4, it looks like. It wasn't until September I recorded a 2-part video review that's still up for some fucking reason. Damn, these did pretty well too. Part 1 has like 8,400 views. Part 2 has over 10,000. That's ridiculous. And again, like really high like to dislike ratio. Y'all are way too nice to me. Yeah, I guess I finished Shin Megami Tensei 4 around September of 2013. But I want to talk about it going back to still that summer, because that was around the time, I made the beginner's guide. It kind of blew up. And I actually remember the transition between the beginner's guide and me doing SMT4 stuff. I had this moment where I reached my goal with YouTube, because I remember when I started doing reviews and stuff, I was like, if I ever get to 100 subscribers, this will be worth it. And I'm now standing at like 8,200 something, all the way 10 years later, which is still honestly kind of mind-blowing to me. I'm still a little baffled I have the audience I do, I'm not gonna lie. Probably part of that is insecurity and self-doubt. But like it I don't know. It blows my mind that people care about my insight as much, or my commentary as much as they do. But it feels good, and I'm very appreciative that so many people have stuck around through the years. Even if they don't necessarily like watch my stuff that regularly, every now and again someone will pop in and leave a comment or show up on a live stream, and it's like, oh, I remember your name, and that's cool. But yeah, I just remember being like, well, fuck, I hit 100 subscribers. What am I supposed to do now? Like, that was the end game, And I was just blown away from the fact that, like, I kind of had developed this core little tiny audience that regularly checked back in on me and, cared about my thoughts on things. It was very humbling in its own way. I remember, being really overjoyed that summer that I felt like I had created something special. I don't remember I used to remember this a lot better, but if you look at the statistics for how many YouTubers even get to, like, I think the number's like 50 subscribers, it's very low. The vast majority of YouTube channels are just completely buried. And the fact that I ever broke through, when I tell people that I meet that I make YouTube stuff and I kind of have, like, a small but dedicated following, I often call myself a Z-list YouTuber, just to take the piss out of it. And, I do want to show or, convey to people, like, I don't take it too seriously, and I'm, in the grand scheme of things, I'm a fucking nobody. But, I do have that following, and I do think that it's worth acknowledging that a little bit when I talk to people or kind of tell them what I do. Because there's a lot of people I've met that are like, oh yeah, I have a YouTube channel, and it's like, I'm happy that they're making videos, but at the same time, you look through and it's like, nobody's watching your stuff, and that's unfortunate. I wish more people had the opportunity that I did to kind of break through those initial humps and develop that small following, because that's really the motivator. When you start to get people that you can tell, like, oh, this person likes me, and they like the things I make, at least, and they're regularly coming back to every new thing I make and commenting on it or expressing how they feel about it, it's a real kick in the behind to start making more things and push yourself to do better. I really remember the response to the beginner's guide was that kick I needed to be like, this is something I want to do with my life. This is a new part of my existence that I want to focus on day to day, is going out here and making things that people can enjoy or get something from. So that leads to Shin Megami Tensei 4, which again changed the course of my life in a way that I never could have expected. I ended up getting involved with this forum called DDSNet, which was a very small, dedicated Megami Tensei fan forum. That was never super active, but it had enough of a community for it to be a full-fledged forum. This was kind of in that period where forums were on their deathbed. I don't know why the person who made this ended up making it, honestly. This was a period where everyone was kind of moving on to, like, Reddit, Tumblr, and Twitter. if they wanted to have these dedicated sorts of communities. And forums were kind of going the way of the dodo. Even I remember by this point, there was only really one forum that I was actively engaged in, because otherwise I was just talking to people on Twitter or over Skype or whatever, or on Reddit, because, you know, I was cringe back then and regularly used Reddit. But there was this, there was one forum like that had a lot of close friends of mine that I was actively engaged in, kind of from like 2013, and then it closed in 2014 for reasons related to me actually having a falling out with the admin. But I was like, oh, you know, forums, that's kind of like a fun thing. It's a Megami Tensei forum, I'll join or whatever. And, you know, at this point, people kind of knew who I was in the Megami Tensei like online scene, so I joined, and I remember a few people being like, "Oh my god, it's Rasen! I love your videos" or whatever, and I was like, "Oh, you know, shucks." Again, probably did not help a young college boy's ego. I probably had some inflated ego from all of this. I'm not gonna lie, and that I probably said some really stupid shit that I would want to slap myself for all these years later. But you know, again, I was young, I was immature, I was a stupid kid dealing with some hard times, and I was just happy that people liked the things I made. Sorry, I had to take a quick break there just to grab some water and, you know, calm my throat a little bit because I was getting a little coffee. Yeah, I've been getting over like a thing, like a cold, and I've had this residual phlegm situation going on, which has kind of sucked, especially because I've been wanting to record more Elden Ring because I'm caught up. But I spent a not insignificant chunk of that playthrough coughing up a lung because I had gotten pretty sick coming back from a business trip. And, you know, I kept recording even though I had that cough because I wanted to play more Elden Ring. And a bunch of very, very nice people in the comments left concerned messages like, dude, are you okay? You're like, it sounds like you're dying, which I appreciate, but also please do not worry. I was just getting over a cold. Which I don't think was COVID, at least, because I did a bunch of the at-home tests and then also did the drive-through test thing. And all were negative. So I don't know if this most recent batch was COVID or not. I don't think it was. But I didn't test or anything. I just decided to stay inside the apartment the entire time and ride it out. Because I just thought at that point that was the more responsible thing to do. And, you know, I worked from home and I still felt good enough to do that. I took like one day off just because I was like, yeah, I could use an excuse to chill out or whatever. But yeah, getting over this coldness kind of sucked, and I don't want to record more Elden Ring because I don't want even more parts of that playthrough where I'm doing nothing but just coughing. Anyways, where were we? DDSnet, that's where we were. So this DDSnet forum started. A bunch of the community members, not the mods, not the admin, decided to all get together and make the Skype group. I got in on it fairly early. I think it had been going for a few months, but I remember I would need to ask my friends about it, but I remember someone talking like it wasn't until like I joined and a few other people joined that it started to get a little bit more active. People started to treat it more as like a chat room, you know, actively talk and stuff like that. And I remember that group in particular because, you know, we were all talking through Skype and stuff, but we were mostly just treating it like, you know, like an instant messenger. But I had been talking to a lot of my internet friends through like Skype and stuff way back when. And I remember pushing that group to be like, hey, we should do like a call thing or whatever. Like, we don't have to all get on webcam or whatever, but it'd be fun to hear all of your voices and stuff like that. And I remember kind of doing an early push to get everyone to do like calls and stuff like that. And we ended up talking a lot. And I didn't know it at the time, but between them and a few friends who I met through Twitter that we ended up also creating our own little tiny Skype group, the seeds were sown for my best friend group that I've ever had, and to this day, like, people I talk to on a daily basis. All because Shin Megami Tensei 4 came out, and there was like a little bit of like a hype that resulted in the Skype group being made because it was connected to this one forum that, you know, probably only existed because SMT4 kind of meant that Megami Tensei was having a moment where people were kind of flocking to it. And I ended up getting to know a lot of these people really well. Some of them, again, I am still in contact with all of these years later. Some of them, not so much. There's a few people I'm still in contact with from that group that we message every now and again. I'm still, on good terms with. Other people that just kind of disappeared, that sort of thing. If you, for some reason, are watching this video and you were in that DDSNet Skype group and you remember all those calls and stuff like that, reach out to me. Send me a DM on Twitter, or just even comment on the video if you want to. I'm just curious how you're doing, because there's a lot of people in that group who we just kind of lost track of over the years, and I wouldn't mind hearing an update. I hope you're doing well, whoever you are. Eventually what ended up happening, though, is that Skype group started to fizzle out a little bit. That forum ended up dying in part because of me, because I can't remember what the fuck was happening exactly, but the dude who was the admin of that forum was just it's a real 4chan type edgelord dude who was posting some heinous shit on Twitter, and I was like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? And I kind of called him out on it, and it kind of raised a little bit of a stink, which some people got pissed at me about, but I think was really the first internet controversy I got involved with publicly, funny enough. Was me just being like, dude, you can't say shit like this. And I can't remember what it was. It was maybe some weird, I want to say it was some edgelord, rape joke thing. And it was just, I've never been a fan of that type of humor. And I was just like, what the fuck are you doing? Especially if you're in charge of a forum or something, you're trying to get people to come to your thing. This is whatever. And I kind of raised a fuss for it, over it or whatever. And a bunch of other people got involved, and people were arguing back and forth, and this was kind of the precursor to the big gaming cultural war that kind of was festering at this time online, but then kind of hit a peak with Gamergate in 2014. But this was a year prior to all of that, where a lot of these conversations had been going on to varying degrees. I remember that was the same summer, I want to say, that people were talking about hey, the most popular YouTuber is this guy named PewDiePie, and half the time all he does is he streams himself playing Amnesia and makes rape jokes, and are we okay with that? I'm still not a fan of PewDiePie, by the way. I think he fucking sucks, but whatever. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like most YouTubers. That is my dark secret. I guess it's not that much of a secret, but if you name a popular big YouTuber, there is a 95% chance I probably think they're kind of, either they just make bad shit, or they're kind of a corporate mark, and I just think they're corny and I don't watch them. But I remember that was a big cultural thing that was kind of in discussion at the time too. There was just kind of this big drama, in part because I called this dude out, and it kind of, if I recall, led to the forum dying. Whoops. But yeah, I mean, whatever. I didn't really care. That Skype group, again, didn't really have any connection to the mods or admin. I think, actually, now that I think about it, I think there was one mod in there, but he didn't. No, there were two mods in there. I think one's name was Guan, who, if I recall, actually went on to do those, I think his name was Guan. I want to say it was GU4N, and I think that guy actually, so I should say that guy was cool from what I remember. It was all of the mods were pretty chill. It was just that one fucking asshole who was in charge of the forum. I think his name was Truner. It was an edgelord or whatever. But there were two mods, Guan, and he ended up working with that fan translation group that did all of the cross-spell games for the Trails of series that ended up getting picked up by the publisher a year or two back, and they're actually coming out with them now as the official localization, which is pretty fucking cool. But I knew that guy back then just through that forum stuff, and I remember when that news broke out and I was looking into the cross-spell game stuff, I was like, oh shit, it's that guy. I used to also post on the same forum that Toby Fox was a moderator on, but that's a story for another day. Um, yeah, the internet's a weird place, and sometimes people end up going on to do things that are like really cool, and it's just like, oh damn, I remember when like I just exchanged random messages with you and whatever, and that's always cool, just seeing how people go on to do cool shit. It's great. I'm sure, honestly thinking about it now, I'm sure that there's people who like knew me from random forums and shit back then, and they're like, oh fuck, that guy like does YouTube shit now. I mean, fucking, it's not like I'm doing anything incredible or impressive or whatever, but that'd be fun. I don't know if there's anyone out there that remembers me from my like pre-YouTube days that are just like, that I'm not already friends with, but just like random people that are like, oh fuck, like I did like a Drakengard Let's Play or whatever. That'd be fun to see. But actually, no, I do remember there is one guy who tracked me down. I know I'm in like a side tangent within a side tangent, but sorry, that's just how I work. Remember what I said about rambling earlier in the video? Still guilty of it, apparently. There was a guy who found me, who remembered me because there used to be this subculture on GameFAQs where we would do this like role play strategy game thing, and it was like Zelda themed, but then we ended up just doing like a general fantasy thing, but like the mods were not having it. GameFAQs mods notoriously, like, they're just terrible people that are like, no fun allowed if it's off topic or whatever sort of thing. So we ended up moving to like random, I think it was like random like Commodore 64 like message boards that nobody was looking at, and we would do these like fantasy roleplay like strategy game things with all these made up rules and arguing about if shit was fair or not. And I engaged with that for like a year, and some dude a few months back, I want to say, some dude tracked me down from that and was like, are you the Rasen who used to post on like, those like threads or whatever? And I'm like, holy fuck, how did you find me? And we talked a little bit, but it was really cool. It's always fun when stuff like that comes up from the past. It always makes me smile, even if I was cringe back in the day, but I was, again, young and stupid. But yeah, that DDSNet Skype group kind of lived on past the forum. And again, I had a separate Skype group. I had a separate Skype group of friends that I had become friends with, just like talking about Megami Tensei and stuff on Twitter. And there was so much like me talking. There reached a point where I was talking between these two groups and like sharing messages, so that they could kind of talk to each other, sort of thing. And I don't remember the exact logistics or how exactly this happened, but at some point we reached a point where it was like, let's just make like a big group altogether of these two groups or whatever. And that's kind of how my friend group as we know it today sort of started. I don't know how many of you know this, but me and my friends call our friend group Smans, which is a very weird name, but it comes from the time that one of our friends posted this picture of Andy Samberg and then wrote Smans while drunk underneath it, and none of us knew what the fuck he was talking about, but the name just kind of stuck. It became one of those dumb inside joke things. So yeah, that's how we identify ourselves. We're Smans, and it's a good, funny, catchy name, and we're all proud of it. So that's how Smans started. That's how my friend group just, again, the best friends that I think I've ever had in my life came from that random little bit of an offshoot of a fucking fan forum for Megami Tensei, which is really weird to think about how life works out, and I think it just goes to show, I think it's worth putting yourself out there, even if you're kind of a shy person, and trying to reach out and find commonalities with people and find these little communities. I don't think that any community online is built to last, but what you'll find through it all is that more often than not, you'll find a handful of cool people that you'll be able to hang out with, and maybe you introduce some of your friends to each other, and you kind of get like a best friend group that can form naturally from all of that. But it's from my personal experience that any dedicated bigger fan community thing is just kind of doomed to fail eventually. But I don't think that that's a bad thing. I don't think the fact that these communities aren't necessarily built to last is a terrible thing, because I think that's just kind of human nature. We form these bigger groups, and over time those groups kind of start to get their own cliques or their own little inner social circles, and for whatever reason, whether it be through disagreement or drama or just, lack of interest, even a lot of the time, those bigger groups tend to fade or break away, and the smaller groups kind of survive because people find each other, and they forge those stronger interpersonal bonds that often are much deeper and richer than they existed within that broader community as people get to know each other better. That's my philosophy on it anyways. I say this all as someone who has a lot of experience growing up online and befriending people online and forming relationships with people through a lot of like fan communities and stuff like that. Along with, just experience I've had with like random fan forums and social media and shit, right? So, but what happened beyond this? Let's go back to the YouTube thing. We've hit Cathedral of Shadows. Oh, goodness. I'm sure that there's a lot of you listening to this that found me through this, too. Cathedral of Shadows, a Megami Tensei podcast, started actually not on my channel, kind of, in a roundabout way. At this point, I was, again, kind of talking on fan forums and participating in the broader Megami Tensei online fandom as it existed back then. And again, I can't stress this enough. It was a lot smaller back then than it was now. It's blown up a lot since then. I was, again, I sound like a douche saying this, but for lack of a better term, I was kind of a known quantity in the community at that point. And I received a invite from another YouTuber named Katsu, who helped administer a Persona 4 Arena fan forum called Maya Naka Midnight. I want to say it was called. And he wanted me to come on with the, I believe it was the Evo champion for Persona 4 Arena, Lord Knight. If not, I mean, I'm sure anyone who knows fighting game stuff knows who Lord Knight is, very, very well-known anime fighting game player. And I can't even remember what we were talking about. I think we were talking about the possibility of like a Persona 4 Arena sequel, or I don't really remember. We were talking about Persona 4 Arena for some reason or another. But I just remember being like, oh fuck, like, you're inviting me on a podcast with Lord Knight? And I remember messaging Katsu back being like, you mean the Lord Knight, right? Because that just like blew my mind that I had this opportunity to talk to a guy who, I really respected, because I was into fighting games at the time, and I had seen this guy on like tournament streams and stuff, like kick ass and do really well and place high. And Katsu's like, yeah, it's Lord Knight. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna go on and like, shoot the shit or whatever. And we just had a really good time talking. It was me, Katsu, I think another guy named Glenn, who was Katsu's friend. I think he was another admin on that forum, and Lord Knight, and we just talked about Persona 4 Arena for a little bit, for like an hour or whatever, and if I recall, I think the reason that I was invited on was because they wanted Lord Knight on as like the fighting game expert, and then they wanted me on as like the Megami Tensei expert, which was, silly, but, again, I was one of the few people making videos at the time or whatever, so I guess that made me an easy pick. And then I kind of befriended Katsu after that, and we would spend a lot of late nights on Skype just talking, just the two of us, and like, we had a fair bit in common, similar taste in JRPGs and stuff. And I think it was Katsu who kind of threw the idea out there, like, we did that one like random like kind of podcasty thing. It'd be kind of cool if we did like a Megami Tensei fan podcast. And he was like, who else would do it? And to be fair, back then, really, there's one other podcast doing it at the time. No, two. There were two podcasts doing it at the time. One of whom I liked a lot, and I'm still friends with a lot of the people that were involved with that. The other one, I guested on one time, and I felt like they kind of treated me like shit. I think they're still going. I don't want to talk too much shit about them, but I had a pretty negative experience from what I remember. And also I remember them being really fucking weird to me and also that other podcast, because they were the ones who like they did the SMT fan podcast thing like first, and they, as soon as it was obvious that there were other podcasts in the scene, they like really like hyped up like, oh, we were the first. And it's like, who the fuck cares? Like, we can all exist together and have a fun time. Oh no, it was weird. This is all like dumb, like decade old drama that I'm not invested in anymore. I'm sure they're fine people, but like, I just remember thinking it was really fucking weird. And then I had the opportunity to guest on their SMT podcast thingy, and I just remember having a pretty bad time because they said some weird shit even prior to us recording that I didn't take particularly well. And like, I don't know if that podcast still exists anywhere, but if you listen to it, I'm sure I sound off. And I just remember it was because I didn't have a great time pre-recording with the hosts. But then, you know, I also remember there was also S-Link FM, which is the podcast I liked a lot. I don't think that even exists anymore. I think that they deleted all their old back catalog stuff, which, again, totally understand. But I'm still friends with a lot of the people that were involved with that. That was that was a fun show too. You know, good memories. But Katsu and I decided that we would throw our hat in the ring, and we started Cathedral of Shadows. And it was an interesting time to have a fan Megami Tensei podcast, because if I recall, we made this thing, and the whole point of it for us was like, hey, we're gonna dedicate every single episode to talk about a random aspect of the series, or like one of the games or whatever, and we'll just record one of these every so often when we feel like it. And we didn't have like a set schedule or anything. It was just whenever we feel like talking about Megami Tensei, because we were two really big fans of this niche JRPG series that we didn't have a lot of people to talk to about or whatever. You know, we'd record an episode and have fun with it. And then like a shit ton of Megami Tensei news started to happen, and like you could tell the series was kind of having a moment. And it was starting to get like really big. Yeah, like I remember episode 4 we talked about Atlas like almost dying and Sega bought them out, and like all of this news started to happen for Megaten around the time that we started this podcast. And I distinctly remember we kind of shifted from being this podcast that just kind of talked about like our love of the series and, you know, our likes and dislikes and random aspects of it to becoming like almost like a weekly like news roundup, which was really weird. And I remember even we received some pushback from people, because there were people like, I just wanted to hear like two people talk about what they loved about Megaten stuff, and you guys are just like doing like the Atlas news every week now. And I remember being like kind of self-conscious about that, and trying to find times to do like you know, I remember really caring a lot about trying to do my best to like vary things up and keep things interesting for people. And we would try to do some fun stuff every now and again. Like we would have call-in episodes and stuff like that. If any of y'all like called in or whatever and you still like watch my stuff, let me know. I'd be curious. And we do like just, you know, like random fun episodes or talk about whatever. And just try to have fun with it. Yeah, we used to do these mailbag specials. We had a pretty regular audience of people that would send us emails and like regular messengers and stuff like that. And that was always fun. We always ended, you know, as you do with podcasts, we always ended each episode with like a email like thing or whatever. At this time, I was I was a big fan of the Super Best Friend cast. And I'm sure that there was a lot of inspiration from that and like a bunch of other random video game podcasts I listened to at the time, right? So like obviously we did the email stuff at the end and answered people's questions if they had stuff about us, and you know, we really took this thing seriously, Katsu and I. We put a lot of hard work and time into doing this podcast, and I remember we started doing this almost weekly, and it was because we were never running out of things to talk about. We always had something new to discuss, and it was getting ridiculous past a point. And that was the turning point where it felt like, I talked a little bit about how I had that point where it's like, oh, I'm making stuff and it's clear that I have this little audience that likes the stuff I make and all that. And this is where it started to feel more like, oh, I'm starting to like, I should say we, as in Katsu and I. There's this point where it's like, oh fuck, like we kind of have our own little community where like people are befriending each other and like, we're getting a lot of like cool feedback and people are doing like fan art for the show, and it started to really feel like we had made something special. And I think it's important for me to remember that because, I kind of look back on the Cathedral of Shadows thing, and I think I'm a little jaded for reasons we'll get into. But I definitely remember there being this like really warm and fuzzy, like, hey, this is a fun place for people to go if they want to talk about Megami Tensei stuff or whatever. And we had a lot of people that didn't like us. Oh my fucking god. I should go back through and I'm gonna look at all of these. Yeah, we had a few off-topic episodes, but like I remember towards the end there was like a bunch of like fan translation stuff that was happening, and we would invite the people on that were doing the fan translations to talk about stuff. I don't think any of those ended up getting made. Wait, no, that's not true. The Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei 1 got made. And I remember that guy who I had on the podcast to talk about that seemed really cool at the time. Ended up being kind of like a Trump supporting alt-right shithead on Twitter, and he blocked me. Yeah, there's a lot of people from back in the day that I befriended because it's like, oh, we both like Megami Tensei, and like we could talk about that, and then you actually get to know people beyond like your shared love of a video game, and sometimes it's not as pretty of a story. But I remember there was a guy working on I think it was a fan translation that never ended up getting made for Devil Summoner PSP. And one of my friends had contacted me because at this time, one of the bigger places that people would go to talk about like Shin Megami Tensei was 4chan. They would go on like the SMT general thread or whatever. And those people fucking hated me, in part because I think this was around the time that I was starting to, care a little bit more about the political side of things and making sure that I was doing my best to be accepting of people and kind of getting more involved with like caring about social justice issues and making sure that if I was making something that was very accommodating and listening to feedback if I said something hurtful because, I was a fucking kind of sheltered, white dude living in the Midwest or whatever. And I was young, and every now and again I would say something stupid. And someone would kind of come out of the woodwork or take me aside and be like, hey, just so you know, like this isn't okay, dude. And to my credit, I want to give myself credit. I think I did a pretty good job of listening to that and, developing that empathy to be like, yeah, that, that's fucked up. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings or whatever. I'm going to make sure to correct my behavior and not do that sort of thing. I haven't gone overboard like some YouTubers have. I will say that. I was never that bad. But I've never, 10 years, never had to make an apology video. It's never happened once. Pretty sure it's never going to happen. We'll see. Maybe I'll fuck up, but I don't think I will. I tend to be pretty good on that front. Pat myself on the back. Never fucked up that bad. I never recorded a video of like a dead body or anything. Jesus Christ, that dude is still on YouTube. I don't understand people. Well, whatever. As long as you have enough of an audience, you can get away with fucking anything on here. It seems like it's like ridiculous. Short of like being a pedophile or going to prison, it seems like you could be a YouTuber and fuck up and people will forgive you in like a year. It's ridiculous out here. But yeah. as I was saying, no, there's this like SMT general thread, and the people there tended to not like me, from what I understand. But I had a friend who would like lurk there or whatever, and I guess after we had invited that guy to come on to talk about the fan translation for this Devil Summoner thing that he was working on, and I guess he like posted in that 4chan SMT general thread to be like, are these guys real Megami Tensei fans? And like got a bunch of mixed results or whatever about us or whatever. And my friend like sent me a bunch of replies or whatever, just kind of like, oh dude, you should see what they're fucking saying about you. And I'm just like, oh my fucking god, this is so stupid. And then I remember that guy gave me a Skype info, and like he and I messaged back and forth, and we had like a little call or whatever, because he had never done anything like this, if I recall, and he just wanted to talk like, hey, how does this work or whatever. And I remember right at the end he was like, how big of a fan would you say you are about Shin Megami Tensei, or like it was something. And I was like, I mean, I've played a lot of the fucking games, I don't know what the fuck you want from me, I have a podcast about the goddamn thing. And it was just funny, because it's like, I know why you're asking me this question, and it's a really fucking stupid question that you're asking, because you asked a bunch of dumbasses their opinion about me. But I don't know. That I remember that being really fucking corny. I had another guest I remember from this podcast who this is awkward to talk about. I had another guest who very clearly, I remember because Katsu didn't make it to this one, but I did a solo interview with the guy for one of these who had been working on some stuff and kind of was picking up wind in the fan translation scene. And he was a younger dude, so I don't want to be too mean. But like we recorded this podcast talking about his project, and then he started to just like dump all of his life's problems on me. And I was like, dude, I'm really sorry, but like I am not a therapist. I cannot help you with this stuff. You need to talk to someone in your life. And it was really fucking awkward. I remember like we recorded this podcast and it was like an hour or so or whatever long. And this dude like just like spent like an hour or two talking to me, and again, he was young, so I want to be nice about it, but like I just was very uncomfortable. And then I remember he had like a Reddit account, and I was like, I wonder what's up with this dude. And I had like looked through his Reddit account, and he had posted some really like suspicious shit about, like, it was kind of stalkery regarding an ex, and I was like, I don't want to associate with this guy anymore. And I kind of wish I had saved those posts, because I don't really remember what they all entailed, which is part of the reason I don't want to like talk too much about this. But yeah, one of the guests we had on for an episode just was kind of fucking weird. And then he ended up being like kind of a big figure in like the Twitter Megami Tensei community, and we ended up unfollowing each other. Just, I think I kind of used the excuse like, oh, I don't really talk about Megami Tensei stuff anymore, haha. But yeah, I don't know, that person went on to be involved with a lot of weird drama stuff, and it was just awkward. And I don't know. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. They were very young when I like talked to them, but I just remember it was really fucking weird seeing this person become like kind of a big like figurehead on like the Megami Tensei Twitter side of things, and just me being like, I don't know, I had some really weird experiences with this person one-on-one, but I didn't say anything because I don't want to stir the pot. But I'm comfortable doing it all these years later, because honestly, I just don't give a fuck anymore. Oh god, yeah, I started a Devil Survivor 2 Let's Play that I privated, because I just was like, this is too much effort, and I had no intention of finishing it. I think this is the first Let's Play I abandoned, which unfortunately would become more of a trend on this channel than I would have liked it to. Yeah, I can be bad about finishing things. That's something I've been trying to work on. I feel like in recent years I've been pretty good about not starting something if I know that I probably won't get back around to it. There's some exceptions. I still need to finish streaming Scarlet Nexus. It was kind of hard just because I feel like there wasn't a lot of interest there, and it's like, if no one really cares to watch me stream this, what's the point? But, for the few people that do care, I should probably wrap that up. And, streaming is fun. Streaming's been something that I've been trying to, kind of do more regularly just because it's fun, and I feel like it's a good way to, get to know you guys a little bit more and stuff like that. But, yeah. Oh god, yeah, that's right. We used to do these. I kind of regret these, honestly. We used to do these Cathedral of Shadows episodes where we would kind of read and riff on fanfic, and I wouldn't really do that nowadays. That's kind of mean. Realistically, these were probably written by some dumb kids or whatever, and it's their way of having fun with things they enjoy, and I don't know. It was a little mean-spirited. These are still up in public. I'm sure that, if I went back and listened to these, I'd kind of regret them. This was certainly a time where, making fun of fanfic and calling it cringe was a little bit more, I guess, commonplace, but I kind of am not a fan that I did that. Not too proud of that. Kind of, again, young and stupid, and sometimes we have some growing up to do. Actually, I do remember, though, this was also around the time I did a Let's Play of the point-and-click adventure game Uninvited. And I bring that up because I did a lot of the fanfic episodes of Cathedral of Shadows with my friend at the time, Sparky, who I also did that Let's Play of Uninvited. And he ended up being someone that he was an admin for the last forum that I really participated in before I just moved over entirely to social media stuff. And that forum closed because he and I had that forum was pretty dead, but he and I had a pretty severe falling out for reasons I'm not going to get into, but it kind of was at a point in my life where I realized that me and a lot of other friends that I had from that forum realized that he had been manipulating us and talking shit about each of us behind our backs and trying to do some puppeteer shit, pulling the strings. And looking back, he was a dude in his 20s talking to a bunch of teenagers and kind of stirring drama, and that's really fucking weird. I wouldn't say he groomed me, but there was definitely he was kind of a big brother figure in my life and imparted some bad things onto me. He was unapologetically racist. Just was not a very empathetic person, very hurtful, very traditional Catholic sort of guy, at a time when I was realizing how much my Catholic upbringing had harmed me, and I was starting to fall out of faith with the church, and I just left it entirely. But yeah, he was a dude that was kind of a big brother figure in my life that I had a falling out with after I realized that he was kind of full of shit. And honestly, as I had started to meet more people through my involvement with Megami Tensei fan communities and my friend group Smans and stuff like that, I kind of realized this guy's kind of a piece of shit, and the way he's acting isn't okay or normal. And I ended up writing a letter to him dude, it's not okay how you're acting or treating people, and I'm not comfortable with you saying the type of shit that you say. And we had I sent him that letter, and we had a one last Skype call at 1 a.m. where we just kind of cried and yelled at each other. It's genuinely, I can still remember staring out my window, and it was right before Thanksgiving of 2014, I want to say. And I just remember staring out my window and hearing him tell me how much he loved me, but how much of a piece of shit I was for not having more faith in it was really uncomfortable. And a bad time. And would be the first of several falling outs that I would have over the years. But I'm happy that that moment happened, because it was the first time, I think, in my online life where I realized that I need to stand up for myself, and I knew that I was doing the right thing. And I had I'd been speaking with other people and even mutual friends of ours, and we kind of realized, like, the way he's treating us, or just the way he treats people, isn't okay. And for somehow I found that courage within me to stand up and say, hey, fuck you. This isn't okay. It's a skill that I don't think I'm proud to have, but has come in handy many times in my life. When there are situations in life where you need to tell someone that they're being a bad friend or they're being harmful, I often am the guy that falls to, for whatever reason, in a lot of my social circles, where I'm the guy who has to communicate, like, hey, buddy, you're causing problems, and you either need to fix this shit or fucking leave. And, that takes a toll on you. I still have trauma from that conversation that, like, I think about all the time, that I'm sure has fucked me up permanently. And, like, I think that is a soured friendship that I will think about until the day I die, among several others that I'll probably talk about later in this video. Yeah, it's just crazy to think about. But I'm happy I found that strength within me to realize that sometimes you just gotta let the fucking bridge burn, if anything, just to protect yourself. That would be something that I would struggle with a lot through the years. Every now and again I would find myself having, like, a big falling out with someone, and I'd have to ask, is it because I'm an asshole? Is the one commonality here me? And what I ended up finding through, like, both therapy and just, like, other people's perspectives is, like, I'm someone who meets a lot of people just, through the act of doing what I do and getting involved with so many different communities, or just existing on social media. You meet a lot of people, and sometimes it's very easy to focus on the negative. And the fact remains that I've made so many incredible friends and acquaintances that I'm on good terms with. But when you exist at such a volume where you're meeting so many people, it's only natural that you're going to have a bad falling out, or, like, a kind of awkward experience with a good handful of them too, but those experiences tend to be so much more traumatic and stick out to you more, that it's like, I've probably made hundreds of, like, friends or, like, pretty good acquaintances who I have, like, a decent amount of respect for. And, all things considered, if there's, like, 12 people in that mix that I maybe had a falling out with, overall, that's still a pretty good ratio, right? I don't know. It's just interesting food for thought, and kind of a weird, unique conundrum in this social media age that we live in. We just used to exist at such a smaller scale in terms of community and social interaction that sometimes it's difficult to keep in mind that things are a little bit different, and we have to take into account the frequency with which that we meet people, and the reach that we have that we used to not have in terms of connecting with others. Not every person you connect with in life you're going to see eye to eye with. That's just a fact of life. And similarly, there's going to be a lot of people in your life that you initially feel a spark or some charisma with, or some chemistry with, and over time you realize that you just have completely incompatible worldviews, or you just don't mesh well, right? And it's okay to let things go sometimes. Cathedral of Shadows Season 2. I forgot. Yeah, we used to do, like, seasons. We would do, like 25 episode seasons. That's right. I don't remember why we decided to do that. Oh god, random JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reviews. Oh god, I used to do these reviews for, like, random superhero movies and, like, DC animated movies, because I used to watch those. Spring of Birth commentary. Oh yeah, I remember doing that. Random stuff. A lot of dumb random shit posts that I've since unlisted just because they're kind of embarrassing. I used to do that every now and again. I just like make like little 2 to 3 minute like shit posts or like dumb jokey things or whatever. Just to, you know, I've always been someone who likes to make people laugh and kind of play the fool. You know, I think that's just part of my personality, but it's kind of funny seeing a lot of these and how they turned out. Oh yeah, and then yeah, this was also around the time that probably the most important Cathedral of Shadows episode for me personally came out, and it was here. I need to look and see which one of these it was. Oh god, I don't know which one of these exactly it was, but at some point I reached out to a light novel translation company called Bento Books because they had announced that they were localizing Quantum Devil Saga, which for those of you who don't know is kind of like a novelization of the Digital Devil Saga books. But how it worked is Digital Devil Saga was the co-creation of Atlus and also a pretty famous Japanese sci-fi author, and she helped out with some of the initial premise stuff for Digital Devil Saga. But Atlus kind of went their own way with her premise, and she was like, well, I want to tell my own version of the story. So she wrote Quantum Devil Saga, which is kind of like her take on the same premise that she worked with Atlus to develop. The story... Okay, here's the thing. Through the years, especially these early years, getting to know people who know things behind the scenes that I have good reason to believe, you know, have juicy insider information. The actual story of why Quantum Devil Saga exists and her involvement with Digital Devil Saga, a little bit more complicated and messy than what actually gets stated in public. At the same time, it's not really my story to tell, and I feel like I would be betraying people's trust if I told the full story. So I'll be a little careful and walk around eggshells. But I will say, I've talked to some people that may have been in the credits for a few of these beloved Atlus games, and like have proof that they are who they say they are. And I've also talked to some people that know some stuff about this Quantum Devil Saga stuff, and the situation with Atlus is a little bit messier back in the day than I think a lot of people probably know. But again, it's not really... I don't know. It's not really my place to say a lot of this stuff, and I don't actually think it's all that interesting, but I guess it's worth saying that anytime there's a big corporate entity involved with making the thing that you like, sometimes they fuck over people more than we would like to admit. I feel like actually that's not too much of a surprise if you keep up with gaming news, but I've heard some horror stories firsthand about what Atlus got up to back in the day, even when like they were making stuff that I liked a lot, which is unfortunate, but you know, I think the fact remains that no video game developer is ever going to be perfect with these things, and a lot of them are very flawed and harm the people, the creators that they work with, or just fuck them over in ways that are unfortunate. You know, it sucks, but hey, it's fucking capitalism. That's how this works. And you know, all we can do is hope that working conditions improve and creative partnerships are better realized to be more fair for people involved. But I've already probably said more than I can say about this stuff that I'm comfortable sharing. But needless to say, doing what I did at the time I did it, I was privy to a lot of fun behind-the-scenes information at various points, both with Atlas USA stuff and Atlas Japan stuff. And a lot of the times the stories were not particularly bright and happy. I'll leave it at that. There were some funny ones, but I don't know. A lot of this is stuff that I just don't feel comfortable sharing where I got the information from, because I feel like I'd be betraying people's trust, even if they're people I don't really talk to anymore, and I want to respect their wishes. So, I don't want to be like, oh, I have information you don't, and I'm not going to share it, but I kind of do. No, but I ended up reaching out to this company, and I was like, hey, I would love to speak with someone about these Quantum Devil Saga books that you're all going to be putting out. And they got us in touch with Kevin Frayne, who was the person involved with, actually translating the first novel. And I remember it was a big moment for me because, I was still a college kid at this time. But, I really didn't want to fuck this up. And I was like, Katsu, we got to be on our best behavior. We got to be as professional as possible. And I was really worried about being, putting on a good show and being a good interviewer. Because I was kind of reaching... I was the arm of the fan base that was reaching out to this, legitimate company to talk about this thing that they hadn't really, but they weren't really doing a good job of marketing what Quantum Devil Saga was, or that it was even coming out. I remember I kind of stumbled onto it and I was like, what the fuck? Why aren't y'all reaching out to the fan base about this, right? Let me be that conduit. And I remember it was very exciting for me to have that opportunity and be like, oh shit, I'm talking with real professionals doing things. And I remember trying really hard to make it a little more formal while still being kind of a fun podcast thing. And I'd put together all of these interview questions, and the podcast episode went really well. And actually, if I recall, at least for a while there, that podcast existed on one of the Wikipedia pages, because there was a lot of information shared on that podcast that just wasn't available out in English at the time or whatever. So I kind of was like, oh my god, I'm a primary source on Wikipedia. I'm actually doing kind of journalisty things with this dumb little fan podcast with Katsu. And I remember being really proud of that. That was around the time that I was realizing that I didn't want to be a programmer. I switched majors and I was kind of doing more more journalist type stuff, more social media, marketing type stuff was kind of the lane I ended up going down. And I definitely remember the YouTube thing kind of colored a lot of my perspective with that, but this was the one thing where it's oh fuck, I can do this. I can help people share the thing they're doing with a broader audience and kind of host a conversation and be someone who asks the questions or gets the information out of people to, share with a broader audience. And Kevin Frayne kind of became a friend. He was a cool guy. I think he doesn't really, I don't really talk to him anymore, but he and I were mutuals on Twitter for a long time. I remember I streamed Shovel Knight and I just kind of sent him a message hey dude, I'm streaming right now. Do you want to hop on? And he ended up streaming the entirety of Shovel Knight with me, which was really nice of him, but we just hung out and had a good time. He was such a cool dude. He doesn't post on Twitter anymore, as far as I can tell. There was a lot of weird oh, I want a direct translation, not a localization, all those weird fucking creeper people who get really anal about JRPG translations kind of harassed him off of the platform, unfortunately. Which Kevin, if you're listening to this, I hope you're doing well. You're a cool dude. And you've just been such a nice guy throughout the years, and I will never forget you. That was a nice thing you did. I was a young, nervous kid, and you agreed to hop on a podcast with some random nerds to talk about something you were working on, and you didn't have to do that, but I really appreciate what that moment and what that opportunity kind of gave me personally, just in terms of self-growth. It definitely gave me a lot of confidence and courage to swing for the fences more with the type of stuff that I was doing, both at my university but also working, on YouTube and stuff like that. That was the first time where I felt like, like, oh fuck, I'm a big boy YouTuber, and that moment really meant a lot to me. And I don't really know if I've ever told Kevin how much that moment, like looking back, kind of meant for me. But you know, I really appreciate it. So thanks a bunch for that. Bunch of random stuff. Yeah, like at this point, I started doing like random reviews for like I did like a review for the Hori Fighting Stick Mini 3, which was like a really like small form factor, cheap like entry level arcade stick. Random streams and stuff. I started to stream a little bit around this time, like Hotiful Boyfriend. God, anyone remember that? The Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei fan translation beta English patch. I forgot I even did that. Oh my fucking god. Oh my god. Okay, so I can't play this video, but I can't play this video, but I'll post a thing in the video showing what this is. But I made a fake Persona 5 trailer that I remember thinking was so fucking funny back in the day. I don't know if anyone would find it funny now anymore. But I remember like getting a lot of responses when I posted it on Twitter or whatever, with people being like, "This is fucking stupid. Fuck you. I thought it was a Persona 5 trailer." And a bunch of other people being like, "Oh, like this is funny," or whatever. You need to keep in mind that this was the time where like every single time there was any video game event, people were like, "Oh, we're gonna get a Persona 5 trailer," even though it was very obvious we wouldn't. Yeah, and then we had Cathedral of Shadows episode 39, titled "Holy Shit, It Actually Happened," where we actually talk about the Persona 5, the Persona 5 trailer, and boy, I should listen to that at some point. I'm not gonna play it on here just because I don't want to fucking start playing podcasts and shit. But wow, I sure do remember a time where I was excited for Persona 5, and I ended up really not liking that game and thinking it was kind of uncreative and just honestly kind of bad. I don't like Persona 5. And then we had the lead up to, oh god, we had the lead up to the we had the lead up to the Smash Brothers 4 release, which I'm gonna play this video with the audio muted because I don't think I can play it because it's Sins of the Father from Metal Gear Solid 5. But let's watch this or whatever. So yeah. On September 12th, 2014, Nintendo decided to send select Club Nintendo members codes to download a demo for Super Smash Bros. 3DS a week before the demo went public. A lot of people really didn't want to wait a week. This was one of the funniest weekends I've had on Twitter. Me and my friends still talk about this because it was such a wild thing that happened. Yes. Oh my god, look at this old Twitter UI. And here's my friend Trick. Trick and I are still friends to this day. I love this motherfucker. We still talk. He's a friend of mine, and one of my best friends I've ever had. Love you, Trick. You're a great guy. One of the Smans. One of the Smen, as we call it. Same with Johnson. Another Smans. But yeah, people were just searching on Twitter, desperate to get a free code if they didn't get one. So we just started shit posting and like taking the piss out. But like, oh god, yeah, look at this old UI, this old boomer UI. Yeah, like look at this shit. Like this is obviously the fakest shit in the world, and people were yeah, like 420 Smash. Yeah, people were just so people were just so desperate to get these codes, and we were just making them mad by like posting fake codes and stuff, just doing a little bit of trolling. God, yeah, all of this stuff. Oh my god, yeah, and then I got involved with the thing. Oh, actually, oh Jesus! Before we look at that, yeah, this is a part of the story I completely forgot to mention. But before I was Rasen Bran, um, I my all of my stuff used to be Rasen Reviews. This YouTube channel was called Rasen Reviews because I had spent when I first created it, all I was really doing was like reviewing things and all that. And sometime around the time, I want to say it was like around the time Cathedral of Shadows started to get like a pretty bigger audience or whatever. I want to say it was around that time I changed it to Rasen Bran, just because I was like, it's a fun serial pun. And I was like, I don't review things anymore. Like, I think I distinctly remember tweeting out something like, my channel is about reviewing things the same amount that like MTV is about music anymore. It's just a bad like old name, so I'm gonna change it. For any of you wondering, the reason that I got the name Rasen was because I had my best friend growing up. His dad used to go to Japan for business trips all the time, and he'd always bring back things for me and him because we were a bunch of fucking weebs. But one of the times he came back and he had like this whole fucking bin of bootleg DVDs. And one of them was the movie Rasen, which was the original sequel to The Ring, based off of the author's second novel, Rasen, which means spiral in Japanese. And me and him watched this movie with these terrible bootleg jank ass subtitles, and we both thought it was the scariest fucking thing for whatever reason. We were like, oh my god, this movie is so cool. And I remember just thinking the word Rasen was really cool. Looking back, not the biggest fan of the name choice. I don't know. It's kind of weird as a white dude to have like a screen name based off of a Japanese movie. IMO, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. I'd probably pick something different. It's just kind of stuck, and I've also kind of changed it to be like a serial pun thing. And Rasen is also just a German word too. So like, I don't know. I think it means lawn in German or whatever, but I'm like, I don't know, fucking... It kind of grew past what the original like point of origin was, so like I'm comfortable enough to still use it, and like just at this point too many people know me as Rasen Bran for me to probably change it. It was a name that started from a different time, I guess. I don't know, but if I was starting again, I don't think I'd be comfortable basing my online persona off of like a Japanese movie title. It just doesn't sit right with me necessarily, and it's something I've definitely thought about a lot in recent years, just being like, it's kind of, but whatever, I don't know. Nobody's complained to me about it, and I think I'm the only person that's really honestly worried about it as much as I have, so I don't know, but it's food for thought, I guess. But yeah, I got people to draw a picture of Shrek eating spaghetti. Got a lot of good images. Oh yeah, Sir Lionheart. I'm still mutuals with this dude. I think he's still making videos and streaming and stuff. He's a JRPG guy. He's still out there making stuff too. Happy to see him still around. Yeah, we convinced a guy to pour chocolate syrup on himself. This was the highlight of the night. We still talk about this guy. I don't remember who the fuck you are. If you're watching this, please comment. I would love to talk to you again. But yes, we convinced a man to pour chocolate syrup on himself and take a selfie for a Smash code. Which is just the funniest fucking thing in the world. Yeah. Yeah, I think fucking Mega Man Horse. But yeah, we had fun that night. Oh, what else? Yeah, just talking about a lot of the stuff that like came out around this time, like Ultimax. I started doing some like random like Gundam audio reviews, which I'm sure none of those opinions I have I agree with. Yeah, all of these are delisted for a reason. I probably went back and listed these a few years ago. I was like, oh fuck me, these are terrible opinions. I have a lot of complicated and heavily evolved Gundam opinions through my many, many years of being a Gundam fan. Let's see what else. Swagman Azuki. Let's fucking go. This is unlisted. I don't know if I can play. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna play it. We'll see if this gets the video demonetized. I remember this being I remember this being one of the all-timer memes from when I posted stupid videos more often. This video is called swagmanazuki.mp4 for anyone curious.
Smoke weed every day. Psych! That's the wrong number!
Oh, I was so stupid.
Oh, baby!
I forgot about that!
Yeah!
Okay, you know what? Fuck me. This is better than I remember it being. Okay, you know what? Sometimes my stupid shitpost self is still funny. Oh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Yeah, you know what? Proud of that one. I'm proud of that one. Yeah, I did a top 10 games I played in 2014. I used to do that. I'm kind of sad that I kind of lost the motivation to do those because I liked doing those. But I used to do these videos where I'd talk about my 10 favorite games I had played that year, even if they were older games, just because I don't really believe in, like, you know, just doing Game of the Year based on games that released that year, because I play so many fucking older games and stuff that it's like, you know, I get a lot more out of ranking the games I played, both old and new, as I do, like, just exclusively talking about the new stuff. Yeah, Cathedral of Shadows still going strong here. Some Dark Souls stream stuff. Cathedral of Shadows episode 54. This was when Devil Survivor 2 Record Breaker came out, I think. And I invited on 2 random guests to, talk to it about. And one of them would go on to become a friend that I would have another falling out with, Zach, who is someone who was a pretty, constant figure on this channel for a few years there. Yeah, I had invited him on as, like, a guest, and, like, we kind of had, like, talked back and forth a little bit. And after Cathedral of Shadows ended, which I guess I can talk about before I talk about that stuff. Yeah, it just got to a point where I remember I had, it was honestly not that long after Record Breaker came out. Episode 56 was our last one. But I remember talking to Katsu and just being like, hey, dude, I think I'm kind of burnt out. I think I've talked about everything involving Megami Tensei I really want to talk about. And I feel, I was reaching that cliff where, integrity and honesty is kind of a big thing for me. And I know every fucking YouTuber says this. And to an extent, it's all kind of bullshit. We're all putting on a performance in some way or another. Even I am. Yeah, we all are. It just comes with the territory of making something. You're always going to be putting on a little bit of a performance. But that being said, I remember reaching a point where I was like, I feel like if I keep doing Cathedral of Shadows, my heart isn't going to be in it. I've lost the passion to talk about Megaten like this. And I just don't care enough anymore. And I kind of told Katsu, like, hey, man, I don't really know if I have my heart in this anymore, and I feel like if we keep going, the show's just going to start to fucking suck, at least from my end of things. And I remember Katsu saying, like, well, I think we should keep going, but I'll respect your decision, and if you don't want to do it, then I don't want to do it either. Which was very nice of him. I remember offering, like, hey, man, if you want this thing to live on and you to take over, and this to be your baby, like, that's totally fine. You can have this. And he was like, nah, like, this was a show we made together, and if you don't want to do it anymore, then, you know, I support you, and I don't want to do it anymore either. Which, looking back, I think was really fucking cool of him. Katsu and I we were never really close friends. He was a guy I liked to talk to, and, like, we definitely, like, kind of hung out on Skype every now and again, but, like, we didn't really ever get super, super close, I would say. But I liked him. I liked him a fair bit. You know, as with every friend group, every now and again there would be stuff that would crop up that, you know, there was some tension there with him and some of my other friends and even me sometimes. But, you know, we just kind of talked a little bit every now and again after the show ended, but we weren't really, like, super close friends or anything. We didn't have, like, a falling out like I did with some other people. But he just kind of eventually left the internet. He started to focus more on, like, he was writing some, like, novels with, I think, another friend of his. And I think of, like, 2 or 3 of those came out. And then, like, sometime around, like, 2017, 2018, he just kind of left the internet, which I can't blame him, you know. I don't blame anyone who decides to step back and leave social media. It's a hellscape out there. So, you know, honestly, good on him. But yeah, Katsu, if you're listening to this, or, you know, if this gets back to you, I really hope you're doing well. And, you know, I'd love to hear from you, honestly. You know, it'd be nice to catch up, I guess. I don't really know what he's up to these days. I don't have him on Discord or anything. And I don't really know what he's up to. So, but, you know, we ended on a good note. And, I really appreciate him being as kind as he was about us ending the show when I was like, hey man, I'm gonna feel like I'm a faker if I keep talking about Mega 10 at the rate that we've been talking about it. And he didn't want to end the show. He was like, I feel like we could keep this going and have something really cool. But he really respected, as like a co-creator of the thing, he really respected the fact that I didn't want to do it anymore, and he really felt like, you know, Cathedral of Shadows was him and I, and he thought, like, you know, if it's not going to be that, then let's end it. And I really respect that. So, you know, thanks, Katsu, if you're listening. Oh wow, yeah, I didn't even realize this was such a, like, back-to-back thing. But yeah, right after Cathedral of Shadows ends, I do my Shin Megami Tensei 1 Let's Play, which is, wow. You know what? Let's pull the first episode of this bad boy up. I bet this is gonna sound terrible. I haven't revisited this in a minute. This is still, to this day, I think, one of the most popular things I've ever done, too. This playthrough really, really, really did well and has continued to do well. Which is unfortunate because I'm not super proud of it.
Why would you ever
oh, God, that's
go
loud.
outside and do anything productive?
Oh, that's really loud.
Me play Shin Megami Tensei. So, welcome to the first episode of Let's Play Shin Megami Tensei 1. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna summon some demons. I love this game. It's the 3rd game in the Megami Tensei franchise. 2 had come out previously for the Famicom, and this is the first one for the SNES, Super, whatever you want to call it. Super Famicom, SNES, whatever.
This is interesting to me because if you, like, listen to that, this is, when was this? 7 years ago, July 20th, 2015. You know, that's about, you know, I've been doing this for about 2 years at this point, and I feel like you can really tell that I'm so much more comfortable on the microphone. The audio quality is still shit. I'm pretty sure I'm still using a Turtle Beach P11 set at this point. I think it was P11. I don't remember the actual model number or whatever. But it was whatever the black and red PS3 Turtle Beach headset was. That was like $60. I specifically remember it was $60 because I kept having to buy new ones. And I kept having to put paycheck money towards them. But yeah, I was still like, God, I remember recording these. I would be on my bed with my shitty little fucking laptop, and I'd you know, have like a book under my laptop, and I'd prop up my... Actually, I wouldn't even prop up my microphone because I didn't have one. I had my headset, and I'd just like stare at my screen and talk into my headset with Audacity in the background. And it'd be a bit before I graduated to the Blue Yeti. God. So funny to think about.
Even if they just want to use
This is the most popular part of the video. Hold on, let's see what's going on here.
To be honest, I've done a lot of different builds on different playthroughs. Just avoid luck and avoid magic.
That's funny. I don't think we'll watch any more of this just because it's whatever. But I like Shin Megami Tensei 1 a lot still. I've played this game way too many times in my life. A lot of that knowledge has kind of left my brain now just because it's been quite a while since I've revisited this game. But I'm not gonna lie, every now and again there's part of me that's like, oh damn, like I don't really like this Let's Play. I think, to be fair, I do think that rationally I'm probably being too hard on myself. I think this is probably a perfectly fine Let's Play, some technical things aside that I was still getting used to. I think most of the information and all that stuff is still good, and I think it's a pretty concise and well-edited playthrough of Shin Megami Tensei 1, but every now and again there's part of me that's like, oh, what if I played like the PlayStation version now that that's fan translated and did like a playthrough of that? But I don't know if I'll ever get around to doing that at this point. It's I'm still poking away at making that Shin Megami Tensei 2 playthrough, which is wild to me that by the time that's done, it'll have been 7 years that I've been keeping people waiting. Honestly, probably 8 years since I started playing Shin Megami Tensei 1. That's wild to think about. But I would say that I'm at a point where my motivation and enthusiasm for talking about Megaten in general, even like the older stuff I like, it's kind of at I wouldn't say an all-time low, but it's pretty low. I don't know. I just would rather focus on other things I care a little bit more about at this point. That's not to say I don't care about this. Like, I still think I think a lot of Atlus's early work, and even like going into the PS2 era and stuff like that, I think that as JRPGs, they do a lot of really interesting and innovative and cool experimental shit. But I don't know. I think I'm just kind of over the whole Megaten thing. Part of that is I think just because I kind of soured on like the whole like fan base side of things too, which, you know, I tend to be a guy that I want to separate what something fan base is like compared to what the actual like piece of art is or whatever. But I don't know. I've had a lot of most of the time I don't enjoy my interaction with Megami Tensei fans, which I hate to say, but I don't know. I'd say not the most socially graceful of JRPG fandoms I've been involved with. That's for sure. To put it politely. Let's see, what else did I do? Yes, okay, this is, so around the time I'm doing the SMT1 playthrough, I then also start to do We Are Finally podcast, which I did with Zach, which I was talking about earlier. What can I say about that? So originally he was on the first episode, and I figured that this would be a podcast series that I would do where, like, you know, I'd invite on random friends and acquaintances, and each episode would be someone different. And we ended up getting along after we recorded the first like 2 episodes because I had him on for both. And I was just like, why don't we just like have you on as a co-host? And keep in mind, I barely knew this dude. Like, I think he had sent in a few emails to Cathedral of Shadows, and then we did that one episode where he hopped on to talk about Devil Survivor 2 on 3DS when the re-release happened. And for whatever reason, we ended up becoming like friends pretty fast, and we started this We Are Finally podcast thing kind of together. That kind of actually, looking back on it now, it's kind of interesting. I don't want to play with this pen actually, but I recently I finished up a bout of therapy not too long ago, and early on in that process I did have a moment where I talked with my therapist about the fact that you know, we kind of both came to the conclusion that I warm up to people. I can warm up to people pretty fast if they gain my trust. Perhaps too fast sometimes, and sometimes I don't do a good enough job of. Again, I'm reaching the point where it's like, oh fuck, how much of myself and my own personal problems do I want to share with the internet? But I do, or at least I did have a problem for a lot of years there, where if someone won over my trust, or if I was convinced that someone was a pretty cool or good person, I did not do a good job of like taking my time developing a friendship with them. I kind of would rush things. And sometimes even romantic relationships, this would bite me in the ass too, where I would kind of get close to someone really fast and kind of let them in to my heart faster than I probably should have, and did not do a good job about putting up boundaries to protect myself, and that could cause problems with me getting exploited sometimes, or just having people walk over me, or do stuff that was not great. But long story short, Zach and I had this podcast for a while. We had a lot of our friends on to like talk about random video games and whatever we were interested in at the time and stuff like that. Oh god, I forgot I did this. I started a Let's Play of Digital Devil Saga that I ended up unlisting too, because it only got like 4 parts in. And again, that was a point where I'm like, I'm just, I don't care enough about Mega 10 to do this playthrough right now. But yeah, we ended up podcasting less and less because behind the scenes, and I don't want to talk too much about this because this still involves friends who would probably prefer I don't talk about this, honestly. But, there were tensions between Zach and myself and a lot of our mutual friends, and it was kind of him against everyone else. But he kept being the source of a lot of interpersonal problems and a lot of, I don't want to say drama because that sounds really catty and dismissive, but he was not being a very good friend, and he was causing problems. And things got kind of strained. Every now and again we would make up and we'd start, being like, yeah, let's go back to making things together, and we would do like a podcast. We did that Drakengard Let's Play, which I can talk about. I'm still really proud of that Drakengard Let's Play. I think we killed it, honestly. I think of all of the playthroughs I've done, I don't think that would be the best, but I have a fondness for the Drakengard Let's Play that we did, because I still to this day, every now and again I'll like get messages, or I'll even like stumble onto people on like Reddit saying like, oh, if you don't want to play Drakengard 1, watch this Let's Play from Rasen Bran. It's either that, or they'll tell him to read like that Dark Id Let's Play from the old Something Awful days, or they'll tell him to watch like that Clumps video or whatever. But I think it's funny I'm in that trio. But I think we did a good job on that Drakengard Let's Play. I'm really proud of that one. I think that he did a good job reacting to it fresh, and I did a good job of kind of being the expert or whatever, and kind of being more informative, and we balanced out well on that, I think. And even though I'm not friends with him anymore, I leave that stuff up because I think we're both pretty proud of what we did. And I feel like if the situation was reversed and he was hosting stuff that we had made together, I have a feeling he probably would have left it up too, even though that we kind of had a falling out. And yeah, again, I don't really want to talk too much about it, but it reached a point where this is stupid because this is really dumb because it actually has to do with a message I received from him when I was in my car getting out of The Rise of Skywalker, which is a terrible fucking movie. But he had sent some really fucking weird messages that had kind of rubbed people the wrong way leading up to this, and then he kind of blew up at me in a message that left me feeling really sad. And I remember coming home, well, I was in my car waiting for it to heat up, because if I recall, Rise of Skywalker had come out in December, and I remember just being like feeling like shit because he had sent me this message that just made me feel really uncomfortable and just like really awkward. And I just felt terrible. And I remember I kind of reached out to the rest of my friends, like almost in tears, like, hey, like, I don't know what to make of this. And everyone was like, this guy has been treating all of us like an asshole for too long. And for the second time in my life, I wrote someone a letter explaining why we didn't want to be friends with them anymore. And we had a falling out, and yeah, that wasn't great. Honestly, that one hurts as much as the Sparky one did, and is also something that I think about with some regularity. You know, you get close to someone for multiple years, and you trust them with your personal life, and letting you let them into you know, information and sides of you that you don't necessarily share with the public, and you know, you develop that attachment, and when that falls through, it just sucks, you know. It's kind of like a bad breakup, but you know, platonic. And that was kind of, I think, a lesson learned, or that was one of the big lessons learned for me recently, in terms of realizing that maybe I need to be more firm with my interpersonal boundaries with people, and when people start to do stuff that, you know, when people start to show red flags, I need to take them more seriously, or when people start to mistreat me or people I care about, maybe nipping that in the bud before, you know, you could, for sometimes when people you care about do shit that sucks, you come up with excuses, you come up with reasons to downplay it, you try to forgive them even when you probably shouldn't, and a lot of the times it doesn't get better, it just gets worse, and it snowballs and snowballs, and it becomes a huge fucking tundra of a problem. And I should have told him to fuck off and stop talking to us, or, you know, what actually happened is I told him, like, hey, you need to stop acting like this, or you need to go away, was exactly how I worded that. Like, you can't talk to any of us anymore. We don't want to deal with your bullshit if you're going to treat us like this. And he chose to go away, which you know, it is what it is. He made his decision. And yeah, I also remember too, this feels a little weird, but something I kick myself for a lot is that he had told me and my other friends that he had been kicked out of other friend groups he was in before. Like, this was not his experience that he had with us was not the first time this had seemed to have happened. And I remember back then just being like, oh, well, that's okay, you'll fit in right with us or whatever. But, like, looking back, like, that should have probably been a warning sign that, you know, there were going to be problems there. And, you know, hindsight's 20/20. But, you know, I say all of this just because, you know, friendships can be complicated. And don't feel bad if someone's treating you or your other friends like shit to tell them to, you know, get the fuck out of there. It can be hard, it can suck, it can make you feel like an asshole. Fuck, there are still times where I replay situations in my head with that guy where I'm like, was I being fair? Was I being an absolute prick? But, you know, if someone's being a problem, if someone's not treating you right, you need to have the spine to say, like, hey, like, don't do that. Or I don't want to, you know, sometimes you have to have the strength to burn the bridge and just be like, don't be an asshole to me anymore. I hate how much of this video have focused on, like, a lot of these friendships that have fallen through with people that have been on the channel, because honestly, if you look at the annals of my channel and all of the co-commentators I've had, the overwhelming majority of them I'm still on good terms with if I still talk to them. It's just like every now and again you get one or two people you were close with and things go sour and it blows up in your face, and it sucks, but you know, nothing worth focusing on. Oh god, yeah, I did this Titanfall 2 Let's Play that, like, I think is blocked because I did this thing where I formatted this Titanfall 2 Let's Play as if it was like a mecha anime, and like I made like a fake like opening and ending theme, and I had like a halfway through like commercial break like insert cut thing. Really fun editing exercise. But you know, I think because eventually, you know, as YouTube is wont to do. The copyright stuff ended up kind of clamping down and being a little more strict. And I don't even think this Let's Play is really watchable anymore, because I think it's blocked in most places, unfortunately, because I used, like, actual, like, anime songs and shit, so. No Brand Sky. This was a Stars Without Number actual play podcast that me and my friends started, and it kind of fell through. Not gonna lie, part of the reason that fell through was also due to, some complicated stuff going on with Zach, where we just didn't really feel comfortable getting together to record a thing without one of our, without one of our co-hosts or players or whatever. So that kind of died. But the spirit of No Brand Sky lives on. I feel we're doing the. I still have that Blades in the Dark series, which I'm taking forever to edit, and same with like that Prol Halloween special that I still need to edit the second half of, and the Worlds Without Number thing I still need to edit the second half of. Editing tabletop podcasts is very fucking hard. I'm sorry, it's gonna be a while, but I do my best to try to get those out whenever I can. I really love doing tabletop stuff for YouTube. I know it's not my most watched thing in the world, but I know that the people that watch that stuff tend to really like it. And that makes me smile, and I just love doing it. And I know my friends love being on those, and it's just a really fun time, right? So, and I love sharing different game systems with people from like tabletop stuff. I know that most people come to my channel for the video game stuff, and below that's probably the anime stuff, but I really fucking love tabletop RPGs too, which was something I kind of found out while doing this YouTube stuff, honestly, too. When I started doing this, I didn't give a fuck about D&D or like tabletop stuff or like any of that, and I kind of started to fall in love with that, around like 2013, 2014-ish or so, when me and my friends decided to try out Dungeon World. And I would like to always have, moving forward, tabletop stuff have a presence on the channel, because I think it's a fun way to express stories between yourself and your friends. And it's just always a fun way to spend a weekend or something, right? And I'd love to share that love with more of you. So check out my tabletop stuff if you're not really much of a tabletop person. You might find it more interesting, or you might find it more fun than you think. Oh yeah, this is when Zach and I did our Breath of the Wild playthrough, which unlike the Drakengard one, I have thought about taking this one down, but again, I feel like we were both pretty proud of this, and I feel like it'd be doing us a disservice to take it down. I don't know. I feel bad about this Let's Play because I actually think that it was pretty entertaining for what it was. I'm actually really happy with this Let's Play, even though it was never the most popular thing in the world, because it was just literally me and him talking over like Skype while I streamed Breath of the Wild, and like I just did a full Breath of the Wild playthrough with him with live commentary, and obviously like that's not gonna be as popular as my heavily edited like niche JRPG playthroughs that people are coming to so that they don't have to actually play the game themselves. This is like a big tentpole. Like every fucking person and their mother had a Breath of the Wild playthrough out on YouTube as soon as we did too, right? So it's nothing special there. But that playthrough was a really fun time. I remember being really happy with it, even though it was, again, not the most popular thing I've ever done. But I feel really weird about it now because it became this sort of testament to a friendship that ended up going sour. And in spite of that, I kind of have it left up just because, I have fond memories of it. But it's not something I could ever go back to or watch, and I feel kind of uncomfortable recommending people go back and watch it. I mean, you can if you want to hear me and someone, another Zelda nerd, like, talk about our experience with Breath of the Wild and see me react to playing Breath of the Wild for the first time. You might find it fun, but I don't know, it's just awkward to me in the same way. I don't know how many of you are Two Best Friends Play fans, but like, it's kind of awkward going back to those old Matt and Pat Let's Plays, knowing that they don't really like each other, or like, their relationship was kind of strained towards the end of there. I kind of had the same thing with this Let's Play where it's like, oh, you know, we were getting along when we recorded those videos, but it's just like awkward because I know that like that friendship ended up going south really like in a really bad way. So you know that sucks. But Nier Automata spoiler cast that we did, I remember that actually gained some traction and that was a fun time. Yeah, I remember the Drakengard and like Nier stuff and all that. We kind of I kind of hopped on the Yoko Taro bandwagon right before Automata came out. And I think that was a good time to hop on. Obviously, that, you know, Automata blew up and became the most popular thing in the world, right? And you know, I was prepared with like that Drakengard Let's Play to be like, hey, if you're interested in Automata or like all that stuff, here's a playthrough of the very first game in the series, which is, you know, after Automata came out, that game kind of got rare because, you know, people bought up copies and it, from what I remember, Drakengard 1 doesn't necessarily emulate the greatest, or at least it didn't at the time. I remember because before I bought it, actually, I tried to emulate it to record that Let's Play, and like no matter how I configured PCSX2, like the cutscenes would stutter or it would be weird, and I ended up buying a copy of the game, and unfortunately, because it was the PS2 and I was using an HDMI converter, there's still some weird video, like audio-visual nonsense going on with that Let's Play, where like sometimes frames like freeze up or like, I don't know. I had to splice together some footage in a weird way sometimes because there would be like this weird artifacting or the capture card would fuck up because of the resolution shifting. PS2 can be kind of a pain in the ass to capture nowadays. Yeah. Interesting time to get into Drakengard and stuff. What else? There's a few stray video essays and stuff here and there that I kind of hopped on the bandwagon and I thought would be a fun thing to do. They're kind of a time sink, honestly, and I was never super happy with a lot of them. I wouldn't mind making some more like kind of scripted, like kind of higher quality stuff. I don't know if I necessarily call them video essays, but oh, excuse me, it's getting late. I've been going for a while. Holy shit. I guess it's 10 years of history, right? But I wouldn't mind doing some more like heavily edited type stuff, or even, I know a lot of people really wish I did more like scripted, like long form review, like editorial stuff. And you know, I want to. Honestly, I've had this. I played through the first Wizardry game like over a year ago, and I still have a script for a video review that I've been working on. That has been like just exists on my computer as a Word doc that it's been just sitting there for years. So yeah. Excuse me. You know, I do want to put out some more of that type of stuff, but it's just a matter of finding the time. It can be a little hard. So, what else did we do? Yeah, like for example, I did this RPG Rewind Akalabeth World of Doom video, which let's listen to this real quick.
Before we searched for crystals, before we saved
I remember being really proud of this.
Mountains, and before we scavenged the arid deserts.
Not a big fan of my delivery.
Killed God, and before we saved the world, and before we watched it collapse, there was Akalabeth, World of Doom.
Yeah,
Akalabeth was not by any means.
I have mixed thoughts on this video. I think the script could have used a few more editing passes, which honestly, to be fair, I think is true of most of my long form stuff. I don't think I spend nearly as much time editing as I should. I think I have a bad habit of writing things that don't necessarily play well for the ear. I don't know. At some point, though, you do need to kind of just make things and be like, fuck it, this is done, instead of just refining over and over again. But I don't know. I know I'm a better writer than I think some of my videos necessarily the scripts convey. And that's something I've been thinking about in terms of making more video reviews or more like scripted video content. I think I could do a little bit better job just having like cleaner wording and, you know, maybe do a few more editing passes. But yeah, I remember I want to make more of these RPG Rewind videos. Honestly, it's just that they're so fucking hard to make. That Wizardry video I'm talking about would be one of these.
A small oppressed group known as the Faithful. Agreed. To everyone.
But yeah, like
Mostly the
I like kind of use this as an excuse to like
with this term,
look at like the
I've been
like development history
plunging Numenor into the sea. Those in Numenor who remained in
and stuff. Which, you know, I just love learning, you know, how games get made and kind of what their influences are and the creators behind them and that sort of thing. That's just what I find interesting about like art that I like, right? And yeah, I remember being really happy with this Akalabeth video, and actually this did pretty well. Like, how many views does this have? Like, yeah, a little over 4,000. It's pretty solid. And I would love to make more of those. It's just a matter of finding the time and trying to get the motivation for it. But I kind of need to kick my ass a little bit into making more of these because they're fun to make, and I love talking about old dumb niche RPGs that nobody else cares about. That's just, you know, I think that's kind of my niche, to say the least. I would love to make more of these for sure. It's just, you know, it's hard finding a balance between personal life stuff and making YouTube videos. And one thing I do want to give myself credit for is I actually think I've done a pretty good job over the years of having a healthy balance. You know, every now and again, sometimes I get people asking me questions like, oh, would you ever want to do this full time if you like blew up? And I think I'm at a point where I think the answer to that is I would be willing to try it, but I don't know if I'd like it. Think about how many big name creators you've heard like talk about how like stressed out they get about the fact that their livelihood is at the whims of a fickle audience, or like, you know, whatever you're interested in can become unpopular with the algorithm at any time, and you're at the mercy of these various like recommendation algorithms that really have no care in the world for what you're necessarily making. Or just even the fact, like, the very process that it takes a lot out of you to make good quality videos with consistency and upload as often as YouTube wants you to upload. Like, you hear a lot from big name creators who kind of vent about the fact, like, I need to go on hiatus because I don't have friends anymore, or I never go outside, or like my mental health is tanking. And just thinking about like the struggles I've gone through with my own mental health and, you know, my everyday life, I definitely think I'd be susceptible to some of that. And that's just not a problem in my life that I would want to deal with. And I'm not gonna lie, just being someone who, you know, kind of has a career now, it's hard to let go of things like, you know, a stable income that, you know, I just have a salary. I don't need to worry about my ad revenue or my Patreon rates as much, you know. Like, I know how much money I'm gonna make this month for, you know, all of my expenses and like putting food on the table and shit. I have like insurance, you know, that I mean, hell, that I have pretty good insurance actually, through my Canadian employer that allowed me to go and do that therapy recently that, you know, I would probably have cost me a lot more if I was exclusively making money through like, you know, YouTube and Patreon stuff, and I needed to, you know, pay for all that on my own. It's kind of hard to, at this point with where I'm at in my life, see YouTube as anything more than just a hobby. And, you know, I'm fine with it being just a hobby or a side job is kind of how I view it. You know, I do get mad at myself because I tend to overpromise. I tend to be very slow with making things. I tend to only... I have a really bad habit of not doing things until I really feel the passion for them, but that comes... I need people to understand that it comes from a place of love. I don't want to half-ass something I make. Like, if I made that Shin Megami Tensei 2 LP that a lot of you have been waiting on, like, a year or two back, it would have sucked. And like it would have just been like, well, what's the fuck? What the fuck is the point? Like if I just phoned it in, and I know if I phoned it in that people would be able to tell, and I don't want to do that to y'all. I think that sucks. I would rather make things and make sure that it's the best possible version of that creation that it could possibly be. I don't want to force things if I'm not feeling it or if I'm not in a good headspace for it. I care a lot about the quality and the enthusiasm and passion behind the things I make, and if I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling it, and I don't want to force myself to. I think that's when you start to get into issues with, people talking about burnout or how like they fucking hate their life and mental health issues and stuff like that. I only want to make the things I'm comfortable making, and I want to reserve the right to do things when I feel like I have it in me to do them and I can accommodate it within every other aspect of my life. I want to, again, I want to give myself credit. I've never had a situation where like YouTube became a problem in like any of the relationships I've had, right? Like I've never had people in my life complain like, oh, you're doing YouTube stuff too much, or like, no, fuck that. I value people, and like my real life responsibility is way more than I do all of this stuff. And that sucks for you guys, and I feel bad for you guys because a lot of the times that means like, a few weeks or even a month or two will go by sometimes where I just don't upload anything, or I've been promising playthroughs for certain games for years now and I still haven't gotten around to them, and that's not fair to you guys, and I'm really sorry about that. Like I genuinely feel really bad about that. It came up in therapy, honestly. A lot of YouTube stuff came up in therapy, of just me feeling bad that I haven't gotten around to doing certain projects and stuff yet. It's something I'm working on. I'm trying. I've recently developed some time management systems to work on things with greater consistency and get projects done and not have them exist in an awkward limbo for as long as they do. I want to be better about finishing my plate when I start something, or just not over-promising. Because it's definitely, as a creator, it's definitely one of my worst flaws, and it's something that I really, really, really want to get better about. Because I know every now and again I get a message just like with people, and it's obvious that they're let down by the fact I haven't gotten around to something, and I hate that. I hate that I've done that to people, and I want to make sure that I'm giving people the stuff they want. And even like honestly, like I have my Patreon. I'm pretty bad about updating my Patreon, and that's something that in 2023 I want to get a little bit better about, just because I don't want to feel like I'm taking people's trust and money without delivering the stuff they want from me, right? I want to make sure that people are happy with the things I'm making, and I care deeply about not only using YouTube as a creative outlet, but making things that people enjoy and get a lot of value out of in their own personal life. I care a lot about this stuff, and it's something I need to work on, which, I think it's good that, I can identify my own flaws and shit like that. Resident Evil 7 VR, this is another thing I did with Zach, but I had a great time doing this, and actually, funny enough, it's funny we're talking about this now, because I ended up pre-ordering PlayStation VR 2, and a large part of that, honestly, it's overpriced, kind of a stupid decision on my part, but a large part of that is because Resident Evil 4 Remake and Resident Evil 8 are both going to have PSVR 2 support, and I still haven't played Resident Evil 8, and part of the reason for that is because I want to play through it for the first time in VR, because my first Resident Evil 7 experience was in VR, and I loved it. It was incredible. Like a really memorable experience for me, and it's like I don't want to play Resident Evil 8 until I get the chance to do it with the fucking headset on, and I'll probably do a streamed playthrough of that. I think that would be a lot of fun. I wonder if I could rope a friend into that, honestly. That might be a good time. The thing about streaming VR that I don't like is that you can't see the chat, so if there's any technical issues or like feedback, like unless I have someone else watching the chat for me and talking to me, I can't tell, which sucks. So we'll work out the details of that, and I'll figure something out. Let's see what else is going on here. More Breath of the Wild Let's Play stuff. That took forever to come out. Model kit stuff, which I'd like to do a little bit more of on the channel every now and again, but in recent years I have decided that maybe not everything I do needs to be on YouTube. Maybe it's okay for me to have a few hobbies that I kind of just have for myself, and I don't need to monetize every aspect of my life. That's just not healthy. I do want to make a video on the Messer that I painted, the HG 1/144th scale Messer kit. I did that a while back, like I think 2 years ago now technically, and I still have all the footage from that, and it's like half edited together. And I would love to do another build and chill where I talk about my experience painting the Messer and customizing it a little bit too, which was really fun. I think that'd be a really fun update to that series where I get to talk a little bit about doing another fully painted kit and my experience doing that, because it was a really fun time. And this summer, especially now that I'm, out living on my, own, and I have my own place, I want to do a lot more model kit painting. I have a huge backlog that I need to get through on model kits, and I keep buying more because I'm an idiot. Oh, here's another RPG rewind I did. The RPG rewind. Let me close some of these tabs. Getting a little full here. The RPG rewind I did on Final Fantasy Adventure. That's kind of a fun intro bit. So many RPGs limit you to the 4 characters, on the Game Boy and shit. Yeah, I'm gonna mute this and just go through. I'm less happy, in retrospect, I'm less happy with this RPG rewind I did on the first mana game, also known as Final Fantasy Adventure or Seiken Densetsu. Because I fall into a trap that I actually think a lot of YouTube critics are guilty of, in that I spend way too fucking much of this video just giving a synopsis of the game with the stray opinion every now and again, and that's not really what a review is. Like, at this point, I should have just probably Let's Played this game. And there's been a lot of, reviews and stuff that I scrapped because I kind of realized, I'm falling into this trap where I'm not really, reviewing this. I'm just giving a synopsis with opinions, and I think that that's a bad habit. I think that's it's a trap that a lot of YouTubers fall into, and I just don't think it's a good way to do reviews. I think it's kind of a bad format. It's a very successful format. Obviously, a lot of people get a lot out of it, and even some of my favorite YouTubers do it, and I think they do it in a way that's really interesting. One of my favorite game critics on YouTube is Noah Cadwell Gervais. And basically what he does is he just provides a running commentary over hours upon hours of gameplay footage. And I think he does it in a way that's pretty damn good, honestly. I like his review style a lot, but for me, and I feel like a lot of other YouTubers, it's kind of a cop-out in terms of not actually structuring good critical review content. And it's something I would like to avoid in the future when I make reviews, is I would like to make something that's a little more like a opinion piece or well-written essay, and not just a recap with every now and again some snarky commentary thrown in the mix. Looking back, this video did not need to be 50 minutes long. I could have probably done 25 minutes if I knew what the fuck I was doing in terms of structure and format. But yeah, I remember because I was really proud of this video for a while, and then I revisited it a year or so after it came out, and I was like, oh, I don't like this, and it kind of discouraged me a little bit, and was part of the reason that, I remember on Twitter I promised a few different reviews and stuff for things over the years, and a lot of the reason that I think they didn't come out was because I felt a little bit bad with how this one turned out. And, people like this video. Honestly, I'm probably the only person that has this sort of issue with it. But, I know I have it in me to do better. And I think that this is just like kind of amateur hour shit, even compared to that Akalabeth video I did. And I know I have it in me to do something a little bit more profound and a little bit better structured. And I'd love to do that in the future. Oh God. Yeah, just a bunch of random streams. Backdoor VHS Shop, which was my movie commentary podcast that I would love to actually bring back with maybe people every now and again. But that was basically like me and some friends like turning on like a stream for a movie. Like, on like Netflix or Prime Video or something, not like a stream of the movie. I would get banned in no time. But then we would do like a podcast recording where we would just like, basically do like a riff track over the movie or whatever. That was a fun time. I would love to do something like that again. Path of Radiance Let's Play that will never be finished. Yeah, that was... Trick and I have done like attempts at playing through that game so many random times as like a Let's Play or something that just never is. At this point, Trick's so busy that'll probably never happen with him as a co-commentator. Sadly, we just never got that to land. Unfortunate, but hey, add that to the pile of incomplete projects. God, what else? Random VR streams. Zone of the Enders playthrough with Johnson. I actually was really happy with how those Zone of the Enders playthroughs turned out. I think Johnson and I did a really good job having, both being informative and entertaining with that playthrough, or those playthroughs. Every now and again, I still feel like maybe someday it'd be fun to go back and do a Let's Play of the Fist of Mars, the Game Boy Advance side story that kind of bridges the gap between 1 and 2. But that game's kind of long, and I don't know how interesting it would actually be to watch minute to minute. So I don't know, but I know Johnson. I asked Johnson one time if he'd want to do it, and he was like, "No, I don't want to watch this random strategy RPG for that long and do a full Let's Play of it," which I totally get. That's a big ask for someone to get involved in a series like that. But yeah, if you haven't watched the Zone of the Enders Let's Play that I did for the first game or for Second Runner that I did with Johnson, I recommend them. I think that they're both really good playthroughs of Zone of the Enders. And actually, if I recall too, I think they, at least at the time, I think I had the only full playthrough you could find of the first Zone of the Enders game on the hardest difficulty, like getting the best rank in the game. I remember because I got stuck a few times in my like practice recordings. And I was just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? And I remember being like, oh damn, like I can't find any videos of anyone really doing this, like at this difficulty, trying to get the best rank. I'm sure that by now it's been a couple years. There's probably people that have, also done that, but that was a really weird gap for me to fill. I find I was just kind of shocked because those are, kind of older games. Yeah, what else here? Random streams, random vlogs, review of Omega Boost, which if I recall, that Omega Boost reveal is all right. This was when I added on a second review sub-series to my channel called Mech Report, which I still only have that Omega Boost up for. I would love to go back through and do more reviews for mech games. This was a there was at least 4 different Mech Report scripts I had for various mecha games, including like Armored Core 1 and other stuff, that I ended up just not feeling very confident in the writing quality of, and I scrapped. Again, I am my own worst critic. I'm sure if I made those videos, they probably would have been enjoyed by people and they probably would have been fine, but like I really do have this problem where I get discouraged, where I work for a long time on something, and then I look at the script as I have it, and then I go, it's just not up to snuff, or I'm not happy with it. And then I'm like, you know what, I'll come back to this later. And then I'm so far removed from the actual experience of playing the video game that I'm like, I don't feel comfortable talking about it critically anymore because I played through it like a year ago at that point or whatever. And I'm like, I don't want to review it with that much gap or that much distance. I say as I'm working on a Wizardry review that I fucking started, I played through that game and beat it like a year and a half ago at this point, but I don't know. I think I still have it in me to do a good Wizardry review because that's a fairly simple game, all things considered. But yeah, that's again something I've been trying to work on. Yeah, Breath of the Wild DLC stuff. We did that. Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei. I think the Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei Let's Plays are fantastic. I love both of them, like, to this day. Like, when people ask... Every now and again, I'll get someone, like, you know, asking me, like, oh, hey, like, you know, if I want to check out your stuff, what would you recommend? I point them towards Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei 1 and 2. I'm really, really proud of the work I did on both of these playthroughs. I think it's where my style of Let's Play kind of crystallized into something that I felt like I had a good handle on. This is the first, like, edited Let's Play I recorded with, like, a decent quality microphone. And I think that they're some of the best edited, like, Let's Plays I've done. In terms of doing that sort of, like, post-commentary thing where I'm going through and trying to, like, cut down a JRPG that I recorded a full playthrough of, but still, you know, when you're making those things, you always want to make sure that you're still being accurate to the character of the game. You don't want to be misrepresenting the game or making it seem faster paced than it actually is. You want to leave in some of the tedium just to express the true character of what you're playing, and make sure people understand what the game plays like. And I think I had a really fucking good handle on that by the time I got to that first Kyuuyaku playthrough. I'm really, really happy with how both of those turned out. Every now and again, I'll still revisit random episodes from that, just like, you know, do I have a higher opinion of these than I probably should? And then I watch them and I'm like, oh no, these are still pretty fucking good. Another review series I started and only got like a couple games in on, Offbeat Gaming. I did this review for a game called It's Winter, which actually I'm pretty happy with that review. It's kind of like a cozy, like, personal thing more than it is an actual review of the game from what I remember. But I actually just got a comment on this not too long ago from someone saying, like, oh, every winter I revisit this video of yours because it's just kind of cozy and gets me into a good mood. And I thought that was really sweet. I was really happy to see that comment. Yeah. I would like to do more random reviews, which I know I keep saying, but just a matter of me finding the time for them. YIIK Pics. God damn it. I've almost fucking forgot about YIIK Pics. Still maybe one of the worst ideas my friends and I ever had. What a weird time to be doing anything like that. We just thought it would be a fun little summer project, and we ended up suffering greatly because YIIK is just a pain in the ass to play through. But, you know, we got a good podcast out of it. And honestly, that podcast is still more popular and still gets more views. Like people go back and still watch YIIK Pics, which is fucking weird to me. But you know, I think it's a pretty good podcast overall. You know, not the greatest in terms of like audio quality, I know, just because the microphone situation was kind of different with everyone I had on. But you know, overall, pretty happy with how that podcast went. And led to a lot of really weird fucking harassment from YIIK fans, you know, all 12 of them that exist and spend their entire lives just, like, you know, fucking typing away on Twitter looking for anyone bad-mouthing YIIK, the greatest indie RPG ever made. I don't know, people are fucking weird. But yeah, I don't know. I know that they updated YIIK and, like, they added a bunch of new shit to it or whatever, kind of in response to the backlash of it. And, like, every now and again, like, people will be like, oh, are you in the YIIK Pics crew ever hoping to go back through and revisit it? And we're all kind of fed up with a bunch of, like, none of us want to go back to YIIK. We had too many bad experiences with, like, really fucking weird YIIK fans. Just being weird little shits that just cannot deal with the fact people don't like their video game. That none of us fucking care enough to... I mean, honestly, too, none of us are convinced that it's any good anyhow, so, like, who gives a shit? I don't know. It just seems like beating the dead horse at this point anyways, so... Yeah, you're not going to see any more YIIK stuff on the channel. It's just not fucking worth it. We don't fucking care enough. What else? Yeah, Last Heart Left, which was kind of my excuse for creating a podcast. Around the time it was clear that We Are Finally podcast was probably over with. And haven't done too many of these recently just because I don't know. I feel like a lot of my drive to do like random podcasts that are just like me and my friends hanging out and, you know, doing random, you know, just shooting the shit and talking about video games or whatever. A lot of my drive for that sort of thing kind of went away because, you know, not gonna lie, me and my friends just talk on Discord every night about the games we're playing or the shows we're watching, and like, I don't really feel like turning that into a podcast. I'd rather just hang out with my friends and talk about stuff. It's just more fun that way. But I you know, if I ever had a friend who was like, oh hey, we should do a podcast or whatever about this, you know, I wouldn't mind resurrecting Last Heart Left and you know, talking about a random game or whatever. In fact, actually, just the other day with a friend, I talked about like, oh hey, you know, we're both playing through this thing, or both have plans to play through this thing. Like maybe we could do a little podcast about our thoughts about it or whatever. And, you know, I like having that option there if I ever want to go through and talk about a random game with someone. I have Last Heart Left there, and we can, you know, do a little episode just talking about whatever. Because it's a podcast dumping ground where there's no real consistent theme episode to episode, and there's no set schedule. I think it's been like almost a year since I've done an episode of Last Heart Left, so it's been a while. Oh yeah, and then we get into like the retro Let's Play stuff that I was doing for a while there. Like this Let's Play of Ninja Gaiden I did to kick that off is actually still really good if I recall. This was like early days of COVID, actually. I remember joking around about it, and I don't think any of us knew how long this would last for when, you know, I made that joke. I can't remember what exactly the joke was early on in that Let's Play, but I take a shot at like, oh, we're all inside because of COVID or something like that, and God, yeah, that was something. It's wild how the pandemic, like the early days of the pandemic, feels so, I don't know. It simultaneously feels like it was just yesterday, but also it's like, oh damn, that was almost 3 years ago at this point. It's crazy. But yeah, this Ninja Gaiden Let's Play was really fucking good in my opinion. I think my commentary was great and my play was exceptional. I would love to go back through and do like Ninja Gaiden 2 and 3 and stuff, but I do not know those games nearly as well as I know Ninja Gaiden 1. In fact, I don't think I've ever beaten Ninja Gaiden 3. So I would have to practice, and, you know, that takes time, so who knows if I'd ever feel the need to do that. But it would be cool to do the rest of the Ninja Gaiden NES games. Actually, what I need to do is I need to go back to this Mega Man Legacy Collection playthrough, because I beat 1 and 2, but I still need to go back through and beat 3, 4, 5, and 6. And actually, if I recall, I had all of the footage for that recorded, but I feel like I could probably go back through and do a better job. I remember I was kind of out of practice at the time, and I remember for all of those remaining games, I was like, I probably could have done a better, you know, I probably could have recorded better runs for each of them, which is why I never got around to doing the Let's Plays for 3 onward. This is definitely something I can see myself going back to and wrapping up the Mega Man Legacy Collection. And who knows, maybe even doing more Mega Man stuff beyond that, because I fucking love Mega Man. Big part of my childhood, honestly. So I would not mind going back through and doing that. Ooh, the Last Heart Left episode on Final Fantasy VII Remake with Johnson that we did. That was a good time. That was a good podcast from what I remember. Oh, I was just actually, I re-listened to this just the other day because I was curious how it held up. I like this video a lot. This is the, hold on, let me switch over. The, Duelists of the Roses review that I did. And again, I started a new, oh, you can't see it because of how I have this cropped, but I started a new sub-series of reviews again called Shuffle Time, where I was like, oh, I'm going to go through and look at a bunch of card-based games, because there was a while there where I was kind of interested in how many indie games had been coming out that were all like deck builders and like card-based stuff, and I was interested in going back through and playing like licensed Yu-Gi-Oh games and other random licensed card games, because card games are a very, like, card games and, like, games that take inspiration from tabletop games in general, like video games, that is, I find very interesting because they often experiment and play around with typical video game gameplay mechanics in ways that you don't often see from other games. And they kind of thread the line between two mediums in a way that I think often produce really interesting results. I would not mind going back through and doing more shuffle time videos. Actually, I did buy, and it might be... Oh no, all of my PS2 games are in my living room, never mind. I got my shelves confused for a second there. But I did buy Yu-Gi-Oh! Capsule Monster Coliseum, and I would love to play through that game, because I rented it a lot as a kid, and I remember really liking it, kind of like how I enjoyed Duelist of the Roses. And I would not mind going back through and doing like a, you know, recorded playthrough of that game and doing a review or something, just to see how that holds up and how I feel about it now. I bet that'd be a fun time, and that'd be a good reason to get Shuffle Time back. And, you know, maybe play some other random card-based video games here and there. There's no shortage of them to choose from. I've still never played Slay the Spire. I know I'd probably love it a lot. A lot of my friends love it. I bet I'd have a good time with that game. What else? More Last Heart Left episodes. Damn, I need to go back through actually and finish Sakura Wars. Me and Antonomi recorded like a little podcast about that, and I never went back around and finished that game. The Dragon Quest I Let's Play, that's right. That's a really good Let's Play, I think, too. Honestly, one of my more underrated Let's Plays. I know people are kind of, especially in the West, kind of like divided on Dragon Quest. A lot of people just think it's very vanilla and boring, but I don't know. I'm really happy with the Dragon Quest Let's Play I did, and I think it's a fun listen. If you like my Megami Tensei stuff that I've done before, I encourage you to maybe check out my Let's Play of Dragon Quest 1. You might enjoy it more than you expect. And I'd love to continue doing like Dragon Quest Let's Plays, and even Let's Plays for other JRPGs like Final Fantasy, like the early games and stuff. And honestly, I would love to do Saga Let's Plays, but I wouldn't feel comfortable doing Saga until I at least got up to Final Fantasy 2, because Final Fantasy 2 is like the ugly duckling prototype for Saga 1 and onward. And yeah, Back Alley Knife Fights I don't think I've referenced yet, but I would always love to make more fighting game videos, but I feel some, you know, I guess this is a good time to talk about both New Type Net Play and Back Alley Knife Fights, my fighting game focused series. Back Alley Knife Fights is my general 2D fighter series, and then New Type Net Play is me focusing on Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme vs. Maxi Bustan. And rather famously, I have like about 100 episodes of Mban gameplay recorded for that series, and I've just done such a bad job of keeping it updated. And part of the reason for both of these is, you know, I only make these videos every so often because I feel really hardcore imposter syndrome that I just recently feel like I've gotten over, in terms of, you know, like, who the fuck am I to talk over fighting game footage and, you know, have opinions and shit. I'm not that good at these games and all that sort of thing, but you know what, fuck it, whatever. Life's too short to have that sort of mindset, right? And also, too, in a few more months, I'm going to be going to Combo Breaker, and I'm very excited. That's going to be my first fighting game tournament. I've been trying to go to that thing for years, but, you know, the pandemic got in the way, so couldn't happen, unfortunately. But I'm very excited to go to Combo Breaker this year, and, you know, maybe record some videos just talking about my experience there. And I'm going to be meeting up with some internet friends for the first time that I've known for a long time. I'm going to be meeting up with Jake and Johnson, and also just a few random people here and there, and that's exciting. I'm looking forward to it a lot. What else? We're getting real close to present. I don't know. I mean, 2020. Blue Lick Road. Oh, how could I forget Blue Lick Road? Oh, if you haven't gone back through and watched me and my friends explore this fucking house, oh, goodness. This was a great time. Yeah, we got the Google Maps and...
Oh, your home's getting exposed.
Yeah,
Why?
let's take a look at the ceiling.
Oh,
Yeah, sometimes...
Wait, okay.
this brings back memories.
Let's go.
Yeah. This was a fun series. Basically, for those of you unfamiliar, there was this house listing that went up on like Zillow or whatever and it had like the 3D tour thing, as you can see here, and it was just a fucking disaster of a house with a bunch of weird shit because like people were using it as like a base of operations to sell shit on Amazon or whatever. So there was all these fucking random like DVDs and Blu-rays and video games and just random shit and junk all over this fucking house, and books and anime, and it was a fucking disaster of just random shit, and it was so fun to explore because there was this whole fucking map of it, and it kind of went viral, and I caught this from a random retweet, and I called up some friends, and I was like, guys, we need to make this a video where we just explore this fucking house, because they had seen it too, and they were like, okay, yeah, let's record our reaction going through this thing. And then I decided to make it kind of like a cute dungeon crawler type thing. Actually, funny enough, I reused the window assets to make these like these status like windows and stuff. I based it off of the SNES ports of the Wizardry trilogy. Those same frames I'm using now for the live stream overlay that I'm doing. Funny how that works out. I really like the old school Wizardry wireframe design thing. I think it's a fun aesthetic, so I decided that I would base my live stream overlay off of the same thing. But yeah, go check out that 4-part Let's Explore 8800 Blue Lick Road series that I did with Fang and Trick, and I think Julian shows up towards the end there too, to talk about fucking Taco Bell, as Julian is wont to do. I made it into like a dungeon crawler parody type thing, and picked a bunch of random like video game music to like go in the background. It's a fun time. It's just a fun way to kill 2 hours. I should rewatch these, honestly. It's been a while since I revisited them. I kind of forgot we did this. Yeah, let's play Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei 2. I feel like, again, I talked about those in the same breath I talked about Kyuuyaku Megami Tensei 1. A lot of the same thoughts and opinions. I think that KMT2 playthrough, if I had to pick one, probably my best Let's Play. Really proud of my performance with that one. I think that's me at my best. Monster Hunter Rise playthrough that never ended up going anywhere. I still feel bad about that one. I still haven't honestly played that much of Rise, and like every now and again I think about like, yeah, that'd be a fun game to stream, just hang out. Monster Hunter is a fun, mindless game, I'm sure a lot of you, just do the same thing I used to do with like World and stuff, where you would just like throw on a podcast and, hunt monsters or whatever. I think that'd be kind of fun to do, like, go back through on PC, maybe, now that Sunbreak is out and all that too, and just make a new profile, and we could, hunt some monsters on Monster Hunter Rise, and just do like a streamed playthrough of it. Just to use it as an opportunity to chat with y'all. I've been having such a fun time with those FF14 streams, just like talking with all of y'all. It's been really fun. And I'd love to find excuses to play other games, and chat and do stuff. There's a few other random games I want to stream and do stuff with. The Rider Kickcast. I'm trying to go through all of the. This is dire. Like Rider Kickcast, Daggers and Moonlight. All of these random series that I'm suddenly getting through, that I got really bad about, like the editing on all of these, and I've just done a bad job of keeping these up to date and putting out episodes of these. That's my bad. I need to really haul ass and do better. The Dark Seed. The Dark Seed Let's Play that Fang and I did. We tried this October to do a Dark Seed 2 Let's Play. And that just didn't end up happening. We might save. I might shelf that for this October. Would be fun to do it again. Dark Seed 2 is an incredible fucking game, for all the wrong reasons, and it would be so much fun to do a Let's Play of that with Fang. But yeah, the Dark Seed Let's Play Fang and I did. Good time. Again, not super happy with the audio mixing, just because I think Fang's mic tends to go a little loud compared to mine, which tends to go a little quiet, so I had a hard time balancing this out. Not super thrilled with some of the audio mix, but I did my best, and I think that overall it was a really good Let's Play and kind of a fun Halloween special to do. random SMT5 videos where I talk about how I'm kind of mad at modern Atlas games. Yeah, I know I talked about maybe making more videos about like me talking about how I feel about Atlas stuff, but I kind of already talked about it here, so I'm not gonna say too much more. But like, I don't know. I really don't like the way that Atlas has grown. And ironically, I feel like a lot of my love for Atlas has shifted to From Software because I feel like they managed to grow at like this massive scale while also staying true to their intent and like their artistic vision in a way that I think Atlas kind of feels like they sold out, not gonna lie. And that's appropriate because we've gotten to the Elden Ring Let's Play. We're getting real close to current here. And yeah, I need to go back through and record more of these because I'm finally caught up, and you know, we're getting pretty close to the end there. We have a super boss and a few more bosses, I think, and then we're wrapped up. To save a village again, I need to go back through and finish editing these. More Daggers in Moonlight, a lot of stuff that I just have on my hard drive half edited that I really need to get better about going through and you know, wrapping up. My video where I came out as demisexual from last August, I tweeted about this. This was a really nice video to make and share my personal experience and kind of open up about me realizing I'm queer to all of you. And you know, it was a really cathartic video to make, but at the same time, not the greatest response numbers wise. And you know, I shouldn't fuck caring about the numbers. Honestly, that's my advice to anyone, you know, doing anything creative online and all that. Like, you can only care so much about the numbers. You have to be true to yourself and putting things out into the world that you care about, and find, you know, even if you have just a handful of people that care about the stuff you make or like the stuff you make, like go ahead and keep going and believe in yourself. But you know, every now and again you get some backlash just numerically that can be hard to swallow. I lost like 200 subscribers after I came out as demisexual, and the like to dislike ratio on this video is noticeably worse than a lot of the videos I make. But you know, fuck it, fuck those people. I don't fucking care if me coming out as being a like, you know, kind of asexual guy or whatever. You know, demisexual isn't fully asexual. It just means that I can't really. I don't really have much of an attraction to people unless I get to know them as like a friend sort of thing, or really develop like a deep connection with them. You know, if there are people that decide they don't want to watch my shit anymore because I came out as using that label, then whatever, fuck them. I don't want them around anyways. They can go fucking die. I don't give a shit. So, you know, it was just kind of a bummer though, seeing like, oh yeah, like I thought that this audience I had built up on YouTube was better than that in some ways, but you know, sometimes it's nice to filter out the shitheads too. I'm not gonna lie. There have been times where I've been more open about, you know, my thoughts and opinions and where I stand on things, just because I know that it'll piss off the right types of people and I won't have to deal with them later on in my life. And, you know, that's just a decision I've made for myself. But I care a lot more about the quality of my audience and having an audience that doesn't suck and isn't bigoted and, like, you know, is overall, like, chill and pretty cool, rather than just, like, trying to appeal to as many people as possible and making all of the numbers go up. I would rather have an audience full of people that I would love to hang out with in real life than just a bunch of fucking people that the only thing they have in common is that we all like the same games and anime and shit. I don't fucking care. I don't want people I don't particularly care for necessarily watching my videos, because from personal experience, I think that sort of thing just leads to problems down the line. There have definitely been times in my YouTubing where I've noticed that there's a guy who, you know, was maybe a little annoying or kind of a shithead in the comment section, and then like a year later will just fucking blow up at someone or just say some shit that isn't cool, and it's like, okay, I probably should have just nipped this one in the bud. But, you know, it is what it is. Yeah. some random G-Witch videos and opinions. I'd love to do more like Gundam type videos and stuff like that. It's just a matter of trying to do it in a way that Sunrise doesn't kick my, teeth in, because they can be kind of anal about copyright stuff on YouTube. And yeah, we're basically caught up, but wow. Yeah, I guess we're caught up here. That was long, way longer than I thought it would go. I did ask people to send me questions to kind of do a Q&A thing, but it's almost 1 a.m. and I think that maybe I will leave that as a separate video to do tomorrow. And also, I mean, that gives people more time to send more questions and shit too, and my throat is getting a little shot. I don't know if you can hear that or not, and you can probably tell I've been rubbing it a little bit. I'm just getting a little sore. But yeah, 10 years of making shit. I know I'm not the greatest YouTuber out there. I know that I have a lot of flaws. I know that I'm not the best about getting stuff done in a timely manner, and again, I abandon things sometimes that I shouldn't abandon, and just don't get around to wrapping things up. I kind of suck at doing this in a lot of ways, but I really do believe in the quality of the work that I do put my all into. I mean, I put my all into everything I do, and I do sincerely mean that, but, the stuff that I make that I think is pretty good, I really believe in, and I'm happy I made, even if I can be my own harshest critic a lot of the time. Doing YouTube stuff has meant a lot for me. It's taught me a lot about how to express myself. It's taught me a lot about what I value in terms of community. It's been a massive boon to me in terms of learning how to talk to people when you first meet them. How to share your point of view, even when it can be kind of scary to do that sometimes. Did so much, honestly, such an incredible job this channel did, getting me out of my shell a little bit, and being a little bit less shy, a little bit less introverted, learning how to deal with my social anxiety, and developing my voice. And that is one, honestly, that is one aspect of myself that I'm actually always been very proud of and very happy with. I think I have a very nice voice, and a lot of that isn't necessarily even just the noise that comes from my body, but just the way that I talk and the way that I convey myself, and kind of the cadence that I've developed, and my way of speaking. I'm really proud of, and I really love what it's done for me, and it's definitely something I've gotten compliments for in real life too. I've been told by a lot of people in my life that I have a very soothing presence, and I think a lot of that is from my voice, and kind of how I decide to present myself, and also discuss things with people, and kind of sort of the mode of conversation I get into with people. It's done me a lot of good in my life, and yeah, like I said, had it not been for me getting involved with a lot of the Mega 10 fandom stuff, I probably wouldn't have become part of my best friend group that have been with me through thick and thin, and honest to God have probably saved my life on more than one occasion through some of the harder periods of my last 10 years here. Yeah, I don't know. It's just wild to think about how much YouTube has been a factor in my life for over, for about 10 years now, and how it kind of changed the trajectory of what I would end up doing, both like in terms of work and stuff I'm interested in, like on a professional career level, but also just interpersonally, what it's done for me in terms of meeting cool new people. I wouldn't change a thing. If I had the opportunity to go back, even with all of the rough patches or the hard parts, or my personal failings, or the falling outs I've had with people, I think that all those experiences and all of those hard times have been good learning experiences for me, and I wouldn't want to risk the good times going away either, because they've been some really fucking good times, and we've had fun here. And who knows? Let's see if we can go to 20. Fuck it. I've thought about quitting every now and again. And I think I'm at a point where the fire burns so strong for me to make things that I don't think I'd be the same person if I didn't have this channel and I didn't have this desire in me to express myself and make stuff for people to enjoy. It's become such an integral part of who I am on a spiritual level. And I'm not ready to give it up. There's too many things I want to make, and I know that I will probably go to my grave with so many different ideas and things that I've wanted to do that I just won't be able to have enough time for in my life, unfortunately. But until then, let's just keep this fucking gravy train going. And I hope you've enjoyed this trip as much as I have. Thank you all who have supported me over the years. Even if you're coming back to this video and you haven't watched my stuff in a while, or you unsubscribe or whatever, I don't fucking care. I'm happy that you were even a part of this journey for even a little bit to begin with. Every little bit of, engagement you've had with the stuff I've made means the world to me. There's part of me that thinks like, I don't deserve this. It's so humbling knowing that all these years later, there are people that care about my scattershot creative output, and there are people that look forward to my thoughts on things and care about the things I say. And it's so powerful when I really start to think of, oh god, god damn it, I'm doing the YouTuber thing where I'm gonna start crying. Fuck, god damn it, no, I'm gonna resist. But it's just really cool knowing that I have a platform and I have so many people that I know wish me well. That's not something that a lot of people can say they have, and it's never something I want to take for granted. So yeah, I think this is a good place to end the video. This is gonna be a pain in the ass to edit. Oh my god, I went so fucking long, but this was a fun time. I'm so happy I made this, and it was just good reminiscing with all of you. And if you have any favorite Rasen Bran memories or whatever, let me know. I would love to hear how you found me, or just like, random experiences you've had with like watching my stuff or whatever. Any fun stories that you think I would like, just post them in the comments. This is our time to be sappy and celebrate and feel good about, this whole journey and doing all of this stuff. And I'd love to I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of that stuff. But yeah, look forward to more Let's Plays. Look forward to more random podcasts and tabletop RPG thoughts and tabletop RPG actual plays and streamed playthroughs. We got a lot of FF14 to stream yet. Holy shit, I need to really get on that. I have no shortage of things to do, but I thrive in the chaos. I love to overload myself for better or for worse, and it always gives me and you something to look forward to. So please be patient with me, and I hope you look forward to me making more stuff as much as I am, because I fucking love making stuff, man. It's just such a good time. It scratches an itch like nothing else does in my life. It really does. So yeah, I'm probably gonna go to bed because it's, again, like almost 1 o'clock and I actually have like important work shit to do tomorrow. So good night. Thanks for watching if you watched this far, and happy 10-year anniversary, Rasen Bran YouTube channel. I love ya. I love ya, and I love all of you. Not really. That's kind of parasocial. I'm sorry. I don't really mean that, but like, I appreciate that you like my shit, and you got a place somewhere in my heart, even if I don't really know who you are. Don't be weird about that, though. Please don't send me weird messages. I'm begging you. Okay, I'm just rambling now. I gotta go. Bye.